Ethan disowned our 5-year-old son in front of 12 relatives, 2 crystal wine decanters, and the pregnant mistress he had seated beside his mother. He slid a DNA report across the dinner table and said, "Noah is not mine," as if he were cancelling a subscription instead of erasing a child. I looked at the paper, then at my son's small hand gripping my dress, and quietly turned on the recorder hidden inside my phone. The Mercer dining room had always been designed to intimidate: dark walnut walls, brass sconces, oil paintings of dead men who had probably disappointed women while wearing better suits. Diane Mercer sat at the head of the table with her pearls arranged over her collarbone like a judge's chain. Ethan sat at her right. Vanessa Hale sat at his left, one hand resting on her small, carefully displayed baby bump. My son stood between my chair and the wall because Diane had told him, 10 minutes earlier, that children should not interrupt adult conversations. Noah had been quiet since then. He wore a navy sweater I had bought for him because he said it made him look like a serious gentleman. His hair had fallen over his forehead. His eyes moved from the report to Ethan's face, searching for the father who had taught him how to ride a bike, cut pancakes into stars, and spell his own last name. "Ethan," I said, keeping my voice low, "what are you doing?" He leaned back in his chair. He looked tired, but not ashamed. That was the first thing that stunned me, not the report, not Vanessa's polished smile, not Diane's sharp inhale of satisfaction. It was my husband's face. He had rehearsed this. "I am doing what should have been done years ago," he said. "I am facing the truth." "The truth?" I asked. Diane lifted her wineglass. "Avery, please don't make this uglier than it already is." Across the table, Ethan's cousin Mark looked down at his plate. His wife, Lauren, pressed her lips together. Nobody spoke. Nobody asked why a private DNA test had become dinner entertainment. Vanessa shifted in her chair. The movement was small, graceful, almost theatrical. "I told Ethan this was too painful to discuss tonight," she said softly. I looked at her. She gave me the kind of pity women use when they want witnesses to confuse cruelty with kindness. "You don't get to speak about pain," I said. Ethan's jaw tightened. Don't start," I repeated. "You placed a DNA report next to the roast chicken and told our son he isn't yours. He shouldn't be in the room." Diane snapped. "He was invited by you," I said. "You asked me to bring him because you said it was a family dinner." Diane's face hardened. "It was supposed to be." Then Ethan discovered he had been raising another man's child. Noah's fingers dug into my dress. My phone lay face down beside my napkin. The recorder was running. I had started using the app months ago, after Ethan began denying things he had said 10 minutes earlier. At first, I felt guilty. Then I began to understand that guilt is how honest people are trained to stay unarmed. I picked up the report. The heading read, "Confidential Paternity Analysis." Below that were names: Ethan Mercer, Noah Mercer, probability of paternity, 000%. The room blurred at the edges for half a second, not because I believed it. I knew my body, I knew my marriage, I knew the timeline of my son's life down to the morning sickness that had made me vomit behind the courthouse before my father's retirement ceremony. No, the room blurred because Noah had learned to read numbers. "Mommy," he whispered, "what does 0 mean?" The sound that moved through the room was not sympathy, it was discomfort, adult discomfort, the kind that makes people angry at the victim for bleeding on the carpet. I folded the report once and set it down. "It means your father brought a fake report to dinner," I said. Ethan slammed his palm on the table. Silverware jumped. Noah flinched. "Do not lie to him," Ethan said. I stood. "Don't you dare raise your voice at him. You have lied for 5 years. No, you let me love him." That one almost landed. I saw what he was doing. He was trying to make himself the injured party. He was trying to turn my son into evidence of my supposed betrayal. He was trying to take the warmest part of our life and recast it as fraud. Vanessa lowered her eyes. Diane leaned forward. "Avery, if you have any decency left, you will not drag this out. Ethan has suffered enough humiliation." I laughed once. It came out colder than I intended. "Ethan has suffered humiliation. He has a right to know his bloodline," Diane said. "My child is standing right here." Diane glanced at Noah as if he were a disputed object left in the wrong room. "That is exactly why this must be handled legally." Legally, there it was. I looked at Ethan again. "What else is in the envelope?" His expression flickered. I reached for the folder beside his plate. He grabbed it first. "That is between my attorney and me," he said. "My son's name is on that report. Nothing about this is just between you and your attorney." Vanessa touched his sleeve. "Ethan, maybe Avery needs time." The performance was delicate. Pregnant peacemaker, gentle mistress, soft voice beside my husband's clenched fist. Ethan covered her hand with his. That was the second blow. Not because I loved him in that moment. Something inside me had already stepped back from him the second he said Noah was not his. But my son saw that hand. My son saw his father comfort another woman. While he trembled beside his mother, Noah whispered, "Daddy." Ethan did not look at him. "I did. Get your coat, sweetheart," I said. Diane stood. "You are not leaving with him." The room went still. I turned my head slowly. "Excuse me, if there is a question of paternity, we need to decide what is best for the child." I said. Ethan rose. "Mom is right. Until we sort this out, Noah should stay somewhere neutral." I stared at him. "There it is," I said. His brows drew together. "What, the reason you did this in front of witnesses? You wanted me shocked, ashamed, and too scared to think. You wanted your mother to say the ugly part for you. I am trying to be reasonable." "No, you are trying to steal my child's home from under him." Vanessa's face changed, only for a second, a small tightening around her mouth. Satisfaction, quickly hidden. I picked up Noah's coat from the chair beside mine. My hands were steady. That surprised me. Maybe the body knows before the heart does when survival has become more important than grief. Ethan stepped in front of me. "Avery, sit down." "No, you walk out that door, and you make this worse." "No, Ethan, you made this worse when you turned our son into a prop. He is not our son." Noah made a small sound. I moved before I thought. I stepped between them so fast my chair scraped backward and hit the wall. "Say that again," I said quietly. Ethan looked at me, then at the relatives, then at Vanessa. He did not say it again. Diane did. "The test says what it says." I looked down at the report. "Who ordered it?" Ethan said nothing. "What lab?" "It's all in the report." "No, a real report has a verifiable chain of custody." "Who took Noah's sample?" Ethan's silence stretched. My pulse slowed. I had the first crack. "You didn't take him to a lab," I said. "You didn't tell me. So where did this sample come from?" Diane snapped. "Avery, stop trying to confuse everyone." "I'm not confusing anyone. I'm asking the first question any court will ask." Ethan's face darkened. "You are not taking this to court. Then why did you bring attorneys into it?" His eyes flicked to the folder under his hand. There, the second crack. I reached for my purse and took out my wedding ring. I had stopped wearing it months ago when my fingers swelled from stress, but I had carried it with me out of habit, out of sentiment, out of a foolish belief that objects held promises even after people stopped honoring them. I placed it on the table beside the DNA report. The small sound it made against the wood carried through the room. "I will not discuss my son's identity at a dinner table staged for your mistress," I said. "I will not sign anything tonight. I will not let your mother, your relatives, or your girlfriend decide what happens to my child." Vanessa's cheeks flushed. "I am not his girlfriend." "No," I said. "You are pregnant at my husband's family dinner. I'm sure you have a more elegant title in mind." A few eyes dropped. Ethan moved toward me. "Do not disrespect her." That almost made me smile. "You disowned your son, but that is where your manners begin." His nostrils flared. The front door opened before he could answer. A cold draft moved through the hallway. The maid, Mrs. Keller, appeared in the dining room archway with a pale face. "Mrs. Mercer, Mr. Callahan is here." My father stepped into the room wearing a charcoal overcoat, his silver hair damp from the rain. Richard Callahan had spent 38 years as a judge before retiring early after my mother died. He rarely raised his voice. He never needed to. His eyes found me first, then Noah, then the report on the table. I had texted him only 4 words from the bathroom before dinner. "Something is wrong." "Come." He had come. Diane stiffened. "Richard, this is a private family matter." My father removed his gloves finger by finger. "My daughter and grandson are my family." Ethan tried to recover his polished public voice. "Richard, I understand this looks unpleasant." "No," my father said, "it looks exactly like what it is." Vanessa shifted behind Ethan. My father walked to the table and picked up the report without asking. He read the top page. His face did not change. Who collected the samples? He asked. Ethan swallowed. A private service. Which one? It's listed. My father turned a page. No chain of custody signatures. No notarized identity verification. No maternal acknowledgement. No pediatric collection record. He looked at Ethan. This is not a legal paternity test. This is paper with a logo. Diane's lips parted. Are you accusing my son of lying? I am observing that your son chose a method no responsible attorney would rely on unless he wanted drama more than truth. Ethan's face went red. I wanted answers. My father set the report down. Then we will get them, Vanessa said. I don't think Avery should be forced into more testing while she's emotional. My father looked at her for the first time. And you are? The question was polite enough to cut skin. Vanessa lifted her chin. Vanessa Hale. Your relationship to this family, Ethan said. She is with me. Noah's hand went cold in mine. My father's gaze stayed on Ethan. I see. Ethan straightened. She is carrying my child. The room seemed to lean toward that sentence. My father nodded once. Then we test everyone properly. Vanessa's hand froze on her stomach. Ethan blinked. What? A court-admissible paternity test for Noah, my father said, with verified samples, and since you have introduced Miss Hale's pregnancy as relevant to family standing, inheritance, and custody pressure, we will include prenatal paternity confirmation through appropriate legal channels if she consents. Vanessa laughed lightly. Too lightly, that's invasive. So is disowning a 5-year-old over dinner, my father said. Diane stood, trembling with anger. You cannot barge into my home and order tests. No, my father said. I cannot order them from your dining room. But I can make one thing very clear. He turned to Ethan. If you use this report to threaten custody, property, or reputation, I will make sure the first question asked in court is why you were so afraid of a real test. Ethan's eyes shifted. I saw it. Fear not enough. Not yet. But the first thin line of it. My father picked up Noah's coat and helped him put it on. Come on, buddy. Noah looked at Ethan. Daddy, am I bad? For 1 second, Ethan's face cracked. Then Diane answered before he could. No one said you were bad. My son did not look reassured. Children know when adults dodge the question that matters. I knelt in front of him. You are not bad. You are not a mistake. You are not a problem to solve. You are my son. And nothing on that table changes that. His eyes filled. Promise. I promise. Ethan whispered. Avery. I stood. Do not speak to him again tonight. You can't keep him from me. You did that yourself. I picked up the fake report. Ethan reached for it. I held his gaze. No, you wanted witnesses. Now I keep evidence. His hand stopped in midair. My father opened the dining room door as we walked out. Vanessa's voice followed us, soft and poisonous. Avery, running will not change the truth. I turned at the doorway. No, I said, but testing will. For the first time that night, she looked afraid, and I knew, before any lab report existed, that Ethan had not been the only one lying. Noah did not cry until we were in the car. He held it together through the Mercer foyer, past the family portraits, past Mrs. Keller's wet eyes, past the front steps where rain glazed the stone like glass. He held it together while my father opened the back door of his black sedan and tucked a wool blanket around him. He even held it together when the house door closed behind us and Ethan did not come out. Then the car pulled away from the curb, and my 5-year-old son folded in half over his seatbelt. Mommy, he sobbed, I don't want to be 0. I climbed into the back seat with him before my father even reached the first stop sign. I unbuckled my belt, gathered Noah against me, and held his shaking body while the rain blurred the windows. You are not 0, I said into his hair. You are Noah. You are my brave, kind, funny boy. You are loved. But Daddy said I'm not his. My throat burned. My father's hands tightened on the steering wheel, but he did not interrupt. That was one of the reasons I loved him. He understood that some wounds need one voice at first. Daddy said something cruel and wrong, I said. Adults can be wrong. Did I do something? No. Did you? No. He lifted his wet face. Then why did he say it? Because he wanted money, because he wanted a cleaner divorce, because he wanted to replace us with a woman who smiled while you broke, because your father was weaker than the life we built around him. I could not say any of that to a child, so I said the only true thing he could hold, because he forgot what love is supposed to protect. Noah pressed his face into my coat. My father drove us to his house instead of mine. I did not ask why. The marital home was no longer safe. Ethan had keys. Diane had keys. Vanessa probably had opinions about curtains. Callahan House stood behind iron gates on a quiet street lined with sycamores. It had been my childhood home and my mother's favorite renovation project. Warm yellow lights glowed behind tall windows. The sight of it nearly undid me. My father parked under the porte cochere. I had Mrs. Alvarez make cocoa, he said. Noah sniffed. With marshmallows. With an unreasonable number of marshmallows. Noah gave a small, broken nod inside. Mrs. Alvarez took one look at us and pressed her hand to her mouth. She had worked for my parents since I was 16. She did not ask questions. She simply bent down, kissed Noah's forehead, and said, "Your pajamas are warming in the dryer, little man." That was when I almost cried, not at the DNA report, not at Ethan's hand over Vanessa's, not at Diane's voice slicing my son out of her family, but at warm pajamas, at proof that care could still be simple. After Noah drank half his cocoa and fell asleep in the guest room with a stuffed dinosaur tucked under his chin, I stood in the hallway and stared at the closed door. My father waited beside me. He heard too much. I said, "Yes, I should have taken him out sooner. You were ambushed. I knew something was wrong. You did not know your husband would use a child as a weapon." I closed my eyes. My father's voice softened. "Avery, I stayed too long." He did not argue. That mercy hurt more than comfort. We went downstairs to his study. It smelled of leather, cedar, and the peppermint tea he drank when he was angry and pretending not to be. He placed the fake report on his desk under a brass lamp. "Tell me everything," he said. So I did. Not from the beginning of the marriage. That would have taken all night. I began 6 months earlier, when Ethan started guarding his phone, when Vanessa's name moved from business calls to weekend messages, when Diane began asking strange questions about whether Noah had my father's eyes or someone else's coloring, when Ethan suggested, casually, that if we ever separated, a clean break would be healthiest for everyone. My father listened without interrupting. I told him about the dinner invitation, Diane's insistence that Noah come, the seating arrangement, Vanessa's presence, the folder, the report, the way Ethan looked at Vanessa instead of our son. Then I took out my phone. I recorded most of it. My father's eyes sharpened. "Good, I don't even remember turning it on. You trusted your instincts." I opened the recording. Ethan's voice filled the room. "Noah is not mine." Hearing it again was worse. In the moment, adrenaline had wrapped itself around me like armor. Now each word landed bare. My father did not move while the recording played, but by the end, his face had gone still in a way I recognized from courtrooms. It was the expression he wore when someone had mistaken calm for weakness. "Send that to me," he said. I did. Then I photographed every page of the report and sent those too. "Do you have Noah's birth records?" he asked. "At home?" "Do you have the acknowledgement Ethan signed at the hospital?" "Yes, in our file cabinet, unless he moved it." "Prenup, in my safe." "House title." "Digital copy in my email." The down payment came from Mom's inheritance account before we converted it to joint marital residence. My father nodded. "We need everything copied before he realizes you are not panicking. He already knows I'm not signing. He thinks refusing to sign is panic. He does not yet understand preparation." My phone rang. Ethan. The screen lit up with the photo I had never changed. Ethan holding newborn Noah in the hospital, his face soft with tears. For years, that photo had been proof that whatever broke between us later, love had existed once. Now it looked like evidence from a crime scene. I let it ring. A message appeared. "Ethan, we need to talk like adults." Another "Ethan, your father had no right to interfere." Another "Ethan, if you keep Noah from me, it will look bad for you." My father watched my face. "Do not respond emotionally." "I won't." Ethan called again. I declined. Then Vanessa texted. "Vanessa Hale, tonight was painful for everyone. Please don't punish Ethan for wanting the truth." I stared at the message. Then another came. "Vanessa Hale, a real Mercer heir changes everything. The sooner you accept that, the less Noah will suffer." My fingers went cold. My father saw my face. "What is it?" I handed him the phone. He read the messages once, then again. "Screenshot," he said. I did. "And do not block her yet." I looked up. "Why?" because arrogant people provide better evidence when they think they are winning. That sounded like my father. It also sounded like the part of me that had woken up in Diane's dining room. My phone rang a third time. Ethan. This time I answered on speaker. What? I said. His voice came through tight and low. Where are you? Noah is asleep. That is not what I asked. I know. A pause. You had no right to take him out of my mother's house like that. I looked at the fake report on the desk. You told everyone he wasn't yours. That does not mean you get to disappear with him. He is not missing. He is safe. With your father, I assume. Yes, Ethan exhaled sharply. Of course. Run to Daddy. My father's eyebrows lifted, but he stayed silent. I sat down in the leather chair across from his desk. You staged a paternity accusation in front of your pregnant mistress and your entire family. I'm not interested in your opinion about maturity. You humiliated Vanessa. I almost laughed. That is what you want to discuss. She is under stress. She's pregnant. And Noah is 5, he should not have been there. Your mother insisted he come, because she did not know how intense it would get. I closed my eyes. There it was. The rewriting had already begun. Ethan, I said, do you know I recorded dinner? Silence. It lasted 3 full seconds. You what? I recorded the conversation. That is illegal. No, it isn't. Not in our state. Not when I'm part of the conversation. You are unbelievable. I learned from you. His voice dropped. Delete it. No, Avery, I am serious, so am I. If you try to use that recording, you will turn this into a war. No, you turned it into a war when you used a fake report to threaten my son's place in his family. It is not fake, then. You'll have no problem with a court-admissible second test. He went quiet again. This silence sounded different, not anger, calculation. I want Noah tested by a neutral lab, he said. So do I. Not your father's people. A certified lab, chain of custody, attorneys notified, proper collection. And Vanessa is not part of this. I looked at my father. He gave a small shake of his head, not as an answer, but as a warning. Let Ethan talk. You made Vanessa part of this, I said. You brought her to a family dinner and called her baby your child, because it is. Then a test will confirm that. His voice sharpened. You are not dragging a pregnant woman through legal harassment because you are jealous. Jealous, I repeated. Yes, jealous, angry, unstable. You have been emotional for months. There it was, gaslighting, polished and ready. I have been lonely for months, I said. That is different. He hesitated for one dangerous second. The truth slipped into the room with us, then he pushed it out. You need to come home tomorrow, he said. We need to discuss temporary arrangements. What arrangements? Custody, the house, finances, send everything through a lawyer. Avery, no, you do not want lawyers involved. I do. No, you don't, because once lawyers start asking questions, your life gets examined too. I leaned back. Good. He stopped. Excuse me. Let them examine it. Let them examine the pregnancy timeline, the bank records, the report, the sample collection, the dinner recording, your girlfriend's texts, and every dollar you moved out of our accounts. His breathing changed. You have no idea what you're doing, he said. I looked at my wedding ring, still in my coat pocket because I had picked it up again after placing it on the table. I did not know why. Habit, evidence, funeral token. Yes, I said, I do. I hung up. My hand shook after the call ended. My father poured me tea without comment for several minutes. The only sounds were rain against the windows and the old house settling around us. Then I opened my banking app. The joint credit card Ethan used for business meals was linked to our household account. I scrolled through recent charges, a boutique maternity store, a private clinic, a hotel restaurant downtown, a luxury apartment building I recognized because Vanessa had once posted a lobby selfie there. My husband had not just betrayed me, he had billed parts of it to our marriage. I froze the card, then I turned off shared location, then I changed the password to our family cloud storage, then I opened a hidden folder on my laptop and named it Noah. Into it, I placed the recording, Vanessa's texts, photos of the report, screenshots of Ethan's threats, account charges, and every legal document I could access remotely. At 2:13 a.m., Ethan sent one more message. Ethan, "You are making this harder than it needs to be." I typed a reply, then deleted it, then typed another, deleted that too. Finally, I wrote one sentence: "Avery, from now on, everything goes through counsel." I sent it. The response came almost instantly: "Ethan, you'll regret this." I stared at those 3 words and felt something inside me become very quiet. Not numb, quiet. A place where fear used to live had gone still enough to think. Upstairs, Noah slept in dinosaur pajamas while the man who had taught him to say Mercer like it meant belonging tried to erase him with a fraudulent piece of paper. I opened the fake report again and zoomed in on the lab number. There was a small code in the bottom right corner: LWLMED 4839. I copied it into a search bar. Nothing came up. I tried the lab name. The website loaded slowly. The logo on the website did not match the logo on the report. My breath caught. I searched the address. It led to a co-working suite, not a laboratory. Then I noticed the report's footer: prepared through referral, Lowell Medical Consulting, Lowell. I took a screenshot. Down the hall, my father's study door opened. He had not gone to bed either. I stepped into the hallway with my laptop in my hands. "Dad," I said, "I found the first loose thread." He looked at the screen. The softness left his face. "Good," he said. "Tomorrow we pull." By 9 the next morning, Ethan had already tried 3 tactics. First, outrage. He called my father's house line at 7:04 a.m. and told Mrs. Alvarez that I had abducted his child. She informed him, in the frosty tone she usually reserved for telemarketers and overcooked asparagus, that Mr. Noah Mercer was eating waffles and therefore unavailable for abduction. Second concern, he sent me a message at 7:26. "Ethan, I know last night was emotional. Let's not make permanent decisions while you're upset." Third threat, at 8:11, an email arrived from his attorney. The subject line read, "Proposed temporary separation terms." I opened it at my father's breakfast table while Noah built a waffle tower and narrated its collapse like a natural disaster documentary. The email contained a draft agreement: temporary residence, Avery Callahan Mercer to vacate marital home pending paternity clarification, child-related provisions. Because paternity is disputed, Ethan Mercer reserves all rights regarding financial support until legal determination. Confidentiality. Both parties agree not to disclose private marital disputes, paternity questions, or related documents to third parties, including family members, employers, press, or social contacts. Asset preservation. Avery Callahan Mercer agrees not to freeze, remove, transfer, or restrict access to marital funds without written consent. Conduct. Avery Callahan Mercer agrees to refrain from harassment of Vanessa Hale, who is not a party to this matter. I read the last line twice, then I smiled. It was not a happy smile. My father noticed. "What did he send?" I passed him the laptop. He read the agreement while spreading butter on toast. By the time he reached the asset preservation clause, the butter knife stopped moving. He moved quickly. He said, "He had this ready." "Yes." Noah looked up. "Grandpa, can I have syrup?" My father's face changed instantly. "You may have an amount your mother will pretend not to see." Noah considered this. A medium illegal amount, a discreet illegal amount. Noah poured syrup with the solemnity of a judge issuing a sentence. I watched him and felt the rage return, clean and bright. Ethan had prepared legal language before he prepared a conversation with our son. He had planned where I would live, what money I could touch, what I could say, and how Vanessa would be shielded. He had not planned how Noah would feel after breakfast. I drove to Mara Pierce's office. Mara had been recommended by my father, but she was not one of his friends. He had been careful about that. "You need someone loyal to your case, not to me," he said. Pierce Family Law occupied the top floor of a converted brick building downtown. The waiting room was calm in the expensive way places become calm when they regularly handle people at their worst. Soft chairs, abstract art, water in glass bottles. No magazines, because no one in a divorce lawyer's office is relaxed enough to read about kitchen renovations. Mara Pierce greeted me herself. She was in her early 40s, with cropped dark hair, a navy suit, and eyes that missed nothing. She did not offer false warmth. I liked her immediately. "I read the email you forwarded," she said as we walked into her office. "Before we discuss strategy, I need to ask one thing plainly. Is there any possibility the DNA result is accurate?" No, she sat. You are certain? Yes. Good. I do not ask to insult you. I ask because facts are tools, and tools must be checked before use. I understand. Tell me how the report was obtained. I don't know. Ethan never took Noah to a lab. I never consented. Noah never mentioned anyone swabbing his cheek. Has Ethan had unsupervised access recently? He took Noah to soccer 2 weeks ago, and to his mother's house last Saturday. Any chance he collected a sample then? Maybe. Toothbrush, hair, a cup. Mara made notes. Non-legal samples can be tested for curiosity, but they are vulnerable to contamination, substitution, and fraud. They are not enough for custody decisions. He knows that, perhaps, or his attorney knows it, and Ethan is hoping you don't. I handed her printed copies of everything I had brought, the fake report photos, the dinner recording transcript my father's assistant had already prepared, Vanessa's texts, Ethan's messages, the proposed agreement, screenshots of charges, and the search results for Lowell Medical Consulting. Mara read silently when she reached Vanessa's text. About a real Mercer heir, her mouth tightened. That was reckless, she said. She thought I was too ashamed to save it. Good, let them think that. She moved to the agreement. This is not a temporary separation proposal, she said after a minute. This is a pressure document. He wants you out of the home, financially frozen, and gagged while he controls the paternity narrative. He also wants to stop support because paternity is disputed. She looked up. He signed Noah's birth certificate. Yes. Held himself out as father for 5 years. Yes. Lived with him. Yes. Claimed him on taxes. Yes. Then even if paternity were disputed, which we are not conceding, he cannot simply erase 5 years of legal fatherhood with dinner theatre. My shoulders loosened for the first time in 12 hours. Mara noticed, but she did not soften the truth. He is still dangerous legally, she said, not because his case is strong, because he is willing to hurt the child to gain leverage. That makes him unpredictable. What do we do first? We preserve evidence. We demand a court-admissible test. We send notice that any attempt to change school permissions, insurance coverage, household access, or financial support without agreement will be treated as bad faith. We do not sign his document. We do not threaten him with everything we have. Not yet. Why not? Because right now he thinks he is ahead. That means he may keep making mistakes. I thought of my father saying almost the same thing. Mara tapped the fake report. We also find out who produced this. I found Lowell Medical Consulting. Dr. Samuel Lowell. You know him. I know of him. He refers private clients to testing companies. He has been disciplined before for sloppy record handling, not fraud. But sloppy people become useful to desperate people. I wrote the name down, Samuel Lowell. Mara leaned back. There is another issue. Vanessa. She's pregnant. Yes, and Ethan has introduced her pregnancy into your marital dispute. That may allow us to ask questions if he uses her child as a reason to alter inheritance, financial support, or custody. However, we must be careful. Courts do not like fishing expeditions into a pregnant woman's medical information. My father said we test everyone properly. Your father is right in principle. In practice, we need leverage or consent. Vanessa won't consent. Maybe not. But Ethan might pressure her if he believes the test will strengthen his narrative. I stared at her. You want him to ask for it. I want him to overreach. Mara said. Men like your husband often confuse control with strategy. If he believes a test will prove Vanessa's baby is his and Noah is not, he may help us open the door. A slow, cold understanding moved through me. So I don't accuse Vanessa yet. Not unless we have proof. Even if I suspect, especially if you suspect, suspicion makes people defensive, evidence makes them trapped. After the meeting, I drove to the bank. The Mercer household account had always been a source of quiet resentment. Ethan earned well, but irregularly. Real estate investments created months of abundance followed by months of panic. My family trust distributions had filled gaps he pretended did not exist. I paid Noah's school deposit. I paid Diane's emergency dental surgery. I paid the property taxes the year Ethan's biggest investor delayed funds. I paid because marriage was supposed to be a shared life, and I thought shared meant generous. At the bank, a senior account manager named Priya led me into a private office. I need statements for the last 3 years, I said, all joint accounts, household credit cards, wire transfers, and authorized user charges. Priya's professional expression did not shift, but her eyes sharpened. Of course, I also need to know what recurring payments are linked to accounts under my individual name. That may take a moment, I'll wait. While she worked, my phone buzzed. Diane Mercer, you have embarrassed this family enough. Bring Noah home and stop hiding behind your father. I took a screenshot. Diane Mercer, Ethan is devastated. Vanessa was shaking all night because of your cruelty. Screenshot. Diane Mercer, if Noah is innocent, you should want the truth. Unless you are afraid. Screenshot. Priya returned with printed statements and a tablet. Mrs. Mercer, you may want to review these recurring payments. The list was longer than I expected. Diane's apartment. Management fee. Diane's supplemental insurance, a storage unit in Ethan's name, a monthly transfer to M. Hale Interiors. I frowned. M. Hale, Priya said carefully, that appears to be the recipient name. Vanessa's full name was Vanessa Marie Hale. How much? $4,000 monthly for the last 8 months. My skin went cold. What is the memo? Priya hesitated. Consulting. I laughed once. Consulting, of course. Print it. There are also charges to a women's health clinic. Same card. I need those too. When I left the bank, I had a folder thick enough to feel like a weapon. Outside, the city moved as if nothing had happened. Buses sighed at curbs. Office workers crossed streets with coffee cups. A man argued with a parking meter. Life continued with insulting normalcy. I sat in my car and opened the folder. 8 months of transfers to Vanessa, clinic charges, hotel meals, a maternity boutique, a jewelry store, and on March 14th, a payment for $2,750 to Lowell Medical Consulting. The memo line read, Noah sample correction. For a moment, all sound disappeared. Noah sample correction, not paternity test, not private lab, not medical review. Correction, as if my son were a clerical error. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. Mrs. Mercer, a woman asked. Yes, my name is Lena Ortiz. I used to work in accounts payable at Mercer Vale Development. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. Ethan's company. Yes, I'm sorry to call you like this. I got your number from an old vendor. Contact sheet. I know that's inappropriate. What is this about? She took a breath. It's about a payment I processed last month, to Lowell Medical Consulting. I looked at the folder on my lap. What about it? I flagged it because the supporting invoice was strange. It had your son's name in the internal memo. My heart began to pound. Why are you calling me now? Because I quit yesterday. And because Mr. Mercer asked me to delete the backup email chain before I left. The world snapped into focus. What email chain? Lena lowered her voice. The one where Dr. Lowell asked whether Mr. Mercer wanted the report to reflect exclusion language. I closed my eyes. Exclusion language. Do you still have it? I asked. A pause. Yes, she said. But if I send it, I need protection. Ethan knows I saw it. I looked at the bank folder, at the memo, at the printed charges, at the reflection of my own face in the windshield. Pale but awake. You'll have it, I said. My attorney will contact you today, Mrs. Mercer. Yes, I'm sorry. I have a nephew Noah's age. When I saw what they were doing, I kept thinking, he's just a little boy. My throat tightened. Yes, I said, he is. After we hung up, I forwarded Lena's number to Mara and my father. Then I opened the hidden folder on my laptop and uploaded the bank statements from the car. The evidence was no longer smoke. It had a name, a date, an amount, and a memo. When Ethan called 5 minutes later, I answered. His voice was clipped. Why is the business card frozen? Because household funds are not for your mistress's rent. Silence. Then, you have been going through accounts, our accounts. You're escalating. No, I'm documenting. You don't want to do that. Actually, Ethan, I think I do. His voice lowered. Be very careful, Avery. I looked at the line item again. Noah sample correction. No, I said, you should have been careful before you put our son's name on a fake invoice. He inhaled sharply. There it was. Again fear, this time, stronger. I ended the call before he could recover. Then I drove back to my father's house, carrying the price of Ethan's silence in a bank envelope on the passenger seat. Ethan discovered the first real consequence of his choices at 6:42 that evening. When his mother called him screaming from the lobby of her apartment building, I knew the exact time because Diane called me first. "Did you cancel my building payment?" she demanded. I was sitting at my father's kitchen island, helping Noah glue paper planets onto a cardboard solar system. Saturn had too much glitter, Earth had a dinosaur sticker, the sun looked like it had been through a legal dispute. I put Diane on speaker and continued holding the glue bottle. "I stopped paying expenses from my personal account," I said. There was a stunned silence, then Diane said, "That payment has always gone through automatically." "Yes. The manager says the account was declined." "Yes, you humiliated me in front of the concierge." Noah looked up at the word humiliated. I took the phone off speaker and walked into the pantry. "Diane, I am no longer funding people who call my son a stranger. How dare you speak to me that way? Accurately, I am your mother-in-law. You are the woman who told my child his place in the family depended on a report your son bought." Her breath hitched, not with guilt, with outrage. "You have always been dramatic. Ethan warned me you would weaponize money." I leaned against a shelf of canned tomatoes. "Diane, I paid your building fees for 3 years because Ethan said you were embarrassed to ask him during a bad quarter. I paid your dental surgery, your insurance upgrade, your Florida trip after you told everyone Ethan paid for it. I did not bring any of that up because I thought we were family." "We are family." "No, last night you clarified the membership rules. You cannot punish me for wanting certainty." "I am not punishing you. I am believing you. If Noah is not family to you, then neither is my money." For once, she had no immediate answer. I heard traffic in the background, then Ethan's voice, faint and tense. "Mom, give me the phone." A second later, he came on. "What the hell are you doing?" he said. I glanced toward the kitchen. Noah was humming to himself. My father sat beside him, cutting tiny paper rings for Saturn with judicial precision. "I'm making clean financial boundaries," I said. "You cut off my mother's housing payment." I stopped voluntarily paying an expense that was never mine. "You know she relies on that." "No, she relied on my silence." He exhaled angrily. "This is exactly the kind of vindictive behavior my attorney warned me about." "Good. Tell your attorney to add it to the list right below fake paternity report." "You keep saying fake like repetition makes it true." "No, evidence will make it true." "You don't have evidence." I looked at the printed Lowell payment sitting on my father's desk across the hall. "Are you sure?" Another pause. Ethan was learning to fear silence. "You need to stop digging," he said. "I thought you wanted truth. I want this handled privately. You lost privacy when you made it a dinner show." His voice turned cold. "If you keep attacking my family, I will file for emergency custody." "On what grounds?" "Instability, alienation, financial abuse." "Please do," I said. "Mara would love to show the court your mother's texts." He went quiet. I could picture him standing in Diane's lobby, one hand on his phone, his mother beside him in a fur-trimmed coat, both of them shocked that the woman who had always smoothed things over had stopped smoothing. "Who is Mara?" he asked. "My attorney." "You actually hired one?" "Yes, Avery. Lawyers will drain everything." "Is that what you want? To burn our son's future because your pride is hurt?" There it was again, our son when convenient. "Say that again," I said. "What, our son?" He said nothing. "You called him our son just now." I was speaking generally. "No, you were speaking carelessly. That happens when lies require too much editing." He cursed under his breath. "Listen to me," he said. "You can make this ugly or you can be reasonable. Sign the temporary agreement. Let paternity get sorted quietly. And I'll make sure you and Noah are taken care of regardless of the result." Regardless, as if he were generous enough to feed a child he had publicly erased. "No," I said. His tone shifted. "Vanessa is scared. I'm not interested. She thinks you're going to harass her. She texted me first. She was trying to be compassionate. She told me a real Mercer air changes everything. She's pregnant and emotional." Interesting. When she's emotional, she gets compassion. When I'm emotional, you threaten custody. He had no response. I ended the call. When I returned to the kitchen, Noah was placing Mars too close to the sun. "Grandpa says Mars needs legal counsel. He told me." My father looked innocent. I said no such thing. I said Mars needs proper orbital representation. I smiled despite everything. Then my phone buzzed again. Diane had moved to the family group chat. Diane Mercer, Avery has cut off my housing payment because Ethan discovered the truth. I hope everyone sees what kind of woman she is. Mark Mercer, Mom, maybe this should stay private. Diane Mercer, she is punishing an older woman. Lauren Mercer, did Ethan really tell Noah at dinner? Diane Mercer, that is not the point. I took screenshots. Then I typed one message. Avery, since Diane has raised finances publicly, I will clarify only once. I have voluntarily paid Diane's building fees, insurance supplement, and medical costs for several years from my personal funds. After Diane participated in publicly humiliating my 5-year-old child, I stopped those voluntary payments. Any future questions can go through counsel. I attached nothing I did not need to. The chat went silent. Then Lauren messaged me privately. Lauren, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were paying for all that, and I'm sorry about Noah. What happened last night was wrong. I stared at the message for a long moment. It was small, it was late, but it was the first crack in the Mercer wall. I replied, thank you. An hour later, Mara called. I spoke with Lena Ortiz. She said, she has the email chain. I stepped into my father's study and closed the door. What does it say? She forwarded it to me under whistleblower protection language. We need to authenticate it, but it appears Dr. Lowell asked Ethan whether he wanted a legal paternity test or a private exclusion report. Ethan replied, private. I need language strong enough to support separation terms. My hand tightened around the phone. Mara, I know, that proves he wasn't looking for truth. It strongly suggests he was looking for leverage. What else? Lowell wrote. Without verified collection, result language should be limited. Ethan responded, I'm paying for clarity, not caveats. I closed my eyes. I'm paying for clarity. Noah sample correction. Can we use it? Eventually. First we preserve it properly. I have asked Lena not to communicate further except through my office. We will send Ethan's attorney a notice demanding preservation of all communications with Lowell Medical Consulting. What about the second test? Your father's lab contact can schedule collection tomorrow. You, Noah, and Ethan. If Ethan refuses, it helps us. He'll refuse Vanessa. Let him. We may not need her yet, but I heard something in her voice. What aren't you saying? Mara paused. Lena mentioned something else. Vanessa submitted prenatal medical expenses through Ethan's company reimbursement system by mistake. There may be an attached document naming a clinic. Does that help? Maybe. It depends what the document contains. We cannot access private medical records unlawfully. But if Vanessa used company reimbursement and attached information voluntarily, it may become discoverable in relation to misused marital or business funds. What kind of information? Possibly dates. Possibly provider, possibly paternity-related testing. We don't know. A thought moved through me, sharp and unwelcome. What if she already had a paternity test? That is one of the possibilities. I sat down slowly. Vanessa's face flashed in my mind when my father said we test everyone properly. Not offended, afraid. After the call, I found my father in the library. He was reading Noah a book about a dragon who refused to share treasure. Noah had fallen asleep halfway through, one hand on the page. My father kept reading anyway, voice low and steady. I watched them from the doorway. This was what Ethan had tried to take from my son. Not money first, not a last name first, but certainty, the right to fall asleep near someone who would not make love conditional on paperwork. My father closed the book and looked up. Mara has the emails, I whispered. He nodded once. Good, there may be more with Vanessa. There usually is. I entered the room and sat across from him. Dad, did you ever think Ethan was capable of this? My father looked at Noah before answering. I thought he was vain, he said. I thought he was insecure. I thought he enjoyed being seen as self-made while accepting help he did not acknowledge. I swallowed. But this, no, not this. Somehow that comforted me. If even my father had not seen the full shape of it, maybe I could stop blaming myself for missing pieces hidden behind marriage, bedtime stories, tax returns, and Christmas cards. My phone buzzed. A new email from Ethan's attorney. Mara was copied. Attached was a revised proposal. This one was worse. It demanded that I return to the marital home with Noah within 24 hours or Ethan would seek emergency intervention. It accused me of financial coercion. It accused me of emotional instability. It demanded that I stop contacting Vanessa, though I had never contacted her at all, and at the bottom, under resolution path, it included a paragraph that made my stomach turn. Avery Callahan Mercer may avoid contested litigation by acknowledging that Ethan Mercer has no biological obligation to Noah pending confirmation, accepting a lump sum transition payment, vacating the marital home, and agreeing not to pursue claims against Ethan Mercer or Vanessa Hale. A lump sum transition payment for my son's erasure. My father read it over my shoulder. His expression did not change, but his voice was ice. They want to buy silence. I forwarded it to Mara. Then I opened my messages and looked at Ethan's name for the first time since dinner. I initiated contact. Avery, you offered money to make me accept that Noah is not yours. That message is now evidence. His reply came 7 minutes later. Ethan, you are twisting this. Avery, no, I am reading it. Ethan, you think your father can protect you from everything. I looked at Noah asleep beside my father, then I typed back. Avery, I am not asking him to protect me from everything, I am asking him to stand witness while I protect my son. Ethan did not reply, but Vanessa did. Vanessa Hale, you can fight all you want. Ethan knows what he wants now. I saved it. Then another bubble appeared. Vanessa Hale, and it isn't a wife who brings another man's child to his table. I stared at the words another man's child. She wanted the phrase to hurt me. Instead, it clarified her. This was not just Ethan's lie. Vanessa was feeding it. Maybe she had helped design it. I took a screenshot and sent it to Mara. Then I turned off notifications, walked to Noah, and gently lifted him into my arms. He stirred. Mommy, I'm here. Is my planet project okay? It's perfect. Daddy coming tomorrow. I froze for half a breath, then I kissed his forehead. I don't know, baby. His eyes stayed closed. If he comes, can you tell him not to say 0 again? The rage moved through me so quietly it scared me. Yes, I whispered. I can, but as I carried him upstairs, I knew telling Ethan would never be enough. I would have to make sure the whole world he had used as a stage heard the correction. The next morning, Ethan tried to take Noah from school. Not physically. Ethan was too polished for that. He preferred paperwork that looked respectable until you read the intention underneath. At 10:18 a.m., Noah's school administrator called me. Mrs. Mercer, MS, Patel said, her voice carefully calm. I need to verify a request we received from Mr. Mercer. I was in Mara's office reviewing the preservation letter to Ethan's attorney. My pen stopped above the page. What request? He submitted an updated pickup authorization form and asked that Vanessa Hale be added as an emergency contact. For a second, I heard nothing but blood in my ears. Mara looked up. I put the phone on speaker. Did he provide a court order? No. Custody agreement? No. Written consent from me? No. That is why I'm calling. Mara stood and moved closer. MS. Patel continued. Mr. Mercer stated there is a family emergency and that MS. Hale may need to assist with Noah temporarily. Mara mouthed, say nothing. Emotional, I gripped the edge of the desk. MS. Patel, please do not add anyone to Noah's file without my written consent or a court order. My attorney will send a formal letter today, of course. I also need to inform you that MS. Hale is currently in our reception area. My breath stopped. What? She arrived 10 minutes ago. She said she was here to observe dismissal procedures in case she needed to help later. I was already reaching for my coat. Mara took the phone. MS. Patel, this is Mara Pierce, counsel for Mrs. Mercer. Please keep MS. Hale away from the child. Do not allow her beyond reception. Preserve visitor logs and security footage from today. We are on our way. I drove too fast. Mara followed in her own car. My father offered to come, but I told him no. Not because I did not need him, because I needed to learn how to stand without letting everyone think my strength had his name on it. Noah's school sat behind a white fence in a neighborhood full of maple trees and expensive strollers. The building looked exactly like what it was supposed to be. Safe, bright murals, little backpacks, paper suns taped to windows. Vanessa stood in the reception area wearing cream wool and a soft pink scarf, one hand on her stomach. She looked like a maternity ad for Betrayal. When she saw me, her expression shifted into wounded innocence. Avery, she said, I didn't expect you to rush over. No, I said, you expected my son. The receptionist stared at her computer with the intense focus of someone pretending not to witness a crime. Vanessa lowered her voice. Ethan asked me to help. Ethan does not get to send his pregnant mistress to my child's school. Her eyes flicked toward the receptionist. Good, she cared who heard. I know this is hard for you, she said. But Noah may need to get used to changes. I stepped closer. Noah needs stability. You are not stability. I'm going to be part of Ethan's life. That is Ethan's mistake, not Noah's obligation. Her smile trembled. You can't keep pretending this is a normal family. No, Vanessa. Ethan ended that illusion at dinner. Mara entered behind me. Her presence changed the air. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. Ms. Hale, she said, you are not authorized to contact, collect, observe, or approach Noah Mercer at school. Any further attempt will be documented as harassment. Vanessa's hand tightened on her purse. I didn't harass anyone. You came to a child's school after participating in a public paternity accusation against him. I did not participate. Mara opened her folder. Would you like to review your text messages to my client? Vanessa's face paled. The door to the administrative office opened, and Ms. Patel stepped out. She was a small woman with silver glasses and the unshakable posture of someone who had dealt with wealthy parents for 15 years and feared none of them. Mrs. Mercer, Mr. Mercer is on the phone, she said. He is insisting. Put him on speaker, Mara said. Ms. Patel hesitated. I nodded. Please. A moment later, Ethan's voice filled the office phone. This is absurd, he said. Vanessa is there at my request. Mara spoke first. Mr. Mercer, you are on speaker with Ms. Patel, Mrs. Mercer, Ms. Hale, and me. Silence. Then Ethan said, Avery, why is your lawyer at our son's school? Our son again. I almost admired how quickly he could retrieve the phrase when authority was listening. Because you sent Vanessa here, I said. I asked her to make sure Noah was okay. No, you tried to add her as an emergency contact. There may be times I need help. Not from her. You don't get to control who is in my life. I get to control who accesses my child. Ms. Patel cleared her throat. Mr. Mercer, without mutual parental authorization or a court order, we cannot add Ms. Hale. Ethan's tone sharpened. I am his father. The sentence hung in the air. Vanessa looked down. Mara looked at me. I looked at the phone. Say it again. Ethan, what? You just said you are his father. I am legally on file. Last night you said he was not yours. That is being determined. But today, when you want control, you're his father. He said nothing. Mara wrote something on her legal pad and turned it toward me. Admission. I almost smiled. Ethan realized the trap a moment too late. This is not productive, he said. No, Mara said. But it is recorded in the school's call log. Vanessa turned toward the door. I don't need to stay for this abuse. I moved into her path. Before you go, I said, understand something. If you come near Noah again without authorization, I will not handle it as a marital dispute. I will handle it as a child safety issue. Her eyes narrowed. For the first time, the softness dropped. You think you're still in charge because your father scares people. No, I said, I think you came to a kindergarten to intimidate a 5-year-old's mother. That tells me exactly how scared you are. Her lips parted. I lowered my voice. What are you afraid a real test will show? For 1 second, pure panic moved across her face, then it vanished. I'm not afraid of anything, she said. Good, then you'll have no problem proving your baby is Ethan's. She stepped back as if I had touched her. Mara said, Avery, a warning. Not because I was wrong, because timing mattered. Vanessa recovered. You're disgusting. No, I said, I'm observant. She left through the glass doors. I watched her cross the parking lot. She pulled out her phone before reaching her car. Her hand shook as she dialed. Not Ethan. I thought, someone else. Ms. Patel invited us into her office. She printed the visitor log, Ethan's submitted form, and a written summary of the incident. She also confirmed that school security cameras covered the reception entrance. I'm sorry this happened here, she said. So am I replied. Her expression softened. Noah is a lovely child. His teachers care about him. We will not release him to anyone unauthorized. For the second time in 2 days, practical kindness nearly broke me. Thank you, I said when we left the office. Mara walked beside me to the parking lot. "You handled that well," she said. "I wanted to scream, but you didn't. I wanted to drag her out by that pink scarf, but you didn't. I asked about her baby." "Yes." Mara looked at me. "Do not do that again unless we have a strategic reason." I saw her face. "I believe you. But if Ethan files claiming harassment, we want clean hands. She came to my son's school. And now we have documentation. That is better than satisfaction." I hated that she was right. Back at my father's house, Noah ran out of the playroom with a construction paper badge taped to his shirt. "I'm a space officer," he announced. My father followed, wearing a matching badge. "I have been deputized against my will." Noah looked at my face. "Mommy, why are you sad?" I knelt. "I'm not sad because of you." "Is Daddy mad?" "Daddy is making some bad choices. Will he make good ones later?" I hesitated. Children ask questions adults spend years avoiding. "I hope so," I said. "But my job is not to wait for him to be good. My job is to keep you safe." He seemed to consider this, then he stuck a second badge on my coat. "You can be captain." I pressed my hand over the paper badge. "Captain, not victim. Not abandoned wife. Not accused woman. Captain." "I accept," I said solemnly. That evening, Mara sent Ethan's attorney a formal letter regarding the school incident. It demanded that Ethan cease unilateral changes to Noah's records, preserve communications with Vanessa concerning school pickup, and confirm no third parties would contact Noah without written consent. His attorney replied within an hour. "Mr. Mercer denies any intent to distress the child and maintains that Mrs. Mercer is overreacting." Mara forwarded it with one note. "Good. He is denying intent, not conduct." At 9:30 p.m., Lena Ortiz sent another message through Mara. Mara called me immediately. "I have something," she said. "What?" Lena found the reimbursement attachment. "It's not a medical record exactly. It's a billing cover sheet from Vanessa's clinic. It lists appointment dates and a line item for non-invasive prenatal paternity consultation." I sat down on the stairs. "Paternity consultation? Yes. When?" 2 months ago. Before Ethan ordered the fake report. "Yes." I closed my eyes. Vanessa had already questioned her baby's paternity before Ethan tried to erase Noah. "Does Ethan know?" "We don't know." "Can we prove who the other man is?" "Not yet. But the billing sheet references an outside lab code. We can subpoena later if litigation opens the door." I thought of Vanessa in the parking lot, hand shaking as she called someone. "I think there is another man," I said. "I think so too," Mara replied. "But we move carefully." After we hung up, I went upstairs to check on Noah. He had fallen asleep with his space officer badge still on. I sat on the edge of his bed and smoothed his hair. Ethan had tried to make Noah the question, but Noah was never the question. He was the answer Ethan wanted to avoid. My phone lit up with a message from Ethan. "Ethan, you embarrassed Vanessa at school. She was only trying to help. I'm giving you one more chance to settle this quietly." A document followed. Settlement proposal, revised. I opened it. The lump sum payment had increased. In exchange, I would agree not to challenge the initial DNA report publicly, not to pursue reimbursement for marital funds spent on Vanessa, and not to seek any claim against Ethan's premarital business interests. At the bottom, one line had been added. Both parties agree that Noah's paternity shall remain confidential and unresolved for purposes of public reputation. Unresolved? That was what he wanted my son to become. I forwarded the document to Mara and my father. Then I opened a new note in the hidden folder. Title: Things Ethan Wants Quiet. I typed, "Fake DNA report, Vanessa school incident, joint funds spent on Vanessa prenatal paternity consultation, Noah's legal fatherhood, Lowell Medical Consulting, Ethan's fear of a real test." I stared at the list. Then I added number 8, the truth. The independent DNA collection took place in a lab that looked nothing like the fake report Ethan had brought to dinner. No walnut walls, no family portraits, no pregnant mistress performing softness beside a roast, just clean white counters, sealed kits, bright lighting, cameras in the corners, and a technician who asked for identification with the calm boredom of someone who had seen every kind of family disaster walk through the door. Ethan arrived 17 minutes late. He wore a charcoal suit and a face arranged for dignity. His attorney, Paul Renner, came with him. Paul was thin, silver-haired, and careful. I could tell within 5 minutes that he disliked surprises. which meant Ethan had become a problem for him. Noah sat beside me holding a plastic dinosaur. My father stood near the window. Mara sat on my other side, reviewing the chain of custody forms. When Ethan saw Noah, something moved across his face. Regret, maybe, or the memory of what regret was supposed to look like. Noah, he said softly. Noah leaned into my side. Ethan stopped walking. I did not rescue him from that moment. The technician called us one at a time. She photographed IDs, logged kit numbers, opened sealed swabs in front of us, and labeled everything with a precision that made Ethan visibly uncomfortable. When it was Noah's turn, he looked up at me. Does it hurt? No, I said, it's just a cheek swab. The technician smiled, like brushing your cheek with a tiny cotton broom. Noah considered this. For science, she said. He opened his mouth solemnly. Ethan watched from across the room. His hands were clasped too tightly. After Noah, Ethan gave his sample. The technician asked him to confirm his full legal name. Ethan James Mercer, he said. Relationship to minor child. He hesitated. Mara's pen stopped. Paul Renner glanced at him. Ethan swallowed. Alleged father. Noah heard. Of course he heard. His eyes dropped to the dinosaur in his lap. I stood so quickly my chair scraped. Mara touched my wrist. A warning. I sat back down, but I looked at Ethan. And this time I let him see everything I had been keeping controlled. He looked away first. After collection, the technician sealed the samples and had all parties sign. My father asked, expected timeline, expedited processing. 3 business days, she said. Results will be sent to council simultaneously. Paul Renner cleared his throat. Only regarding the minor child. Mara looked up. For today? Yes, for today. Ethan heard it. His eyes narrowed. What does that mean? It means the issue you raised is being tested properly, Mara said. There is no other issue. Mara closed her folder. Then there is no reason to be nervous. Ethan turned to me. Are you enjoying this? I almost answered honestly, no. I was not enjoying watching my son learn that adults could put conditions on love. I was not enjoying sleeping in my childhood bedroom with my wedding ring inside a plastic evidence bag. I was not enjoying discovering that my marriage had been used like an expense account for another woman's pregnancy. But I was beginning to understand that not enjoying a fight did not mean I would lose it. I'm enduring it, I said. There's a difference. Ethan's face tightened. After the lab, Mara and I drove to Dr. Samuel Lowell's clinic. It occupied the 2nd floor of a medical office building beside a dental practice and a cosmetic injection studio. Lowell Medical Consulting had frosted glass doors, a potted plant that needed water, and a receptionist who looked alarmed when Mara handed her a business card. We're here regarding a report prepared under referral code LWL4839, Mara said. The receptionist's smile became brittle. Do you have an appointment? No, Dr. Lowell is unavailable. Then please inform him that counsel for Avery Callahan Mercer is here regarding a fraudulent paternity report involving a minor child. The receptionist disappeared into the back so quickly the potted plant trembled. 5 minutes later, Dr. Lowell came out. He was shorter than I expected, with thinning blonde hair, rimless glasses, and the damp forehead of a man who had just seen his future narrow. Ms. Pierce, he said, I'm not sure what this is about. Mara held up the fake report. Then let's begin with whether your office generated this document. He glanced at it, too quickly. I would need to review records. Do that. His mouth tightened. Patient confidentiality prevents. No patient existed in this chain, Mara said. No verified collection. No signed consent from the child's mother. No legal testing protocol. And yet your referral code appears on the document. Lowell looked at me for the first time. Mrs. Mercer, I'm sorry for any distress, but private informational tests are not uncommon. Private informational tests do not usually get served beside dessert. I said. His face reddened. Mara placed another paper on the reception counter. This is a preservation notice. Do not delete, alter, or destroy communications with Ethan Mercer, Vanessa Hale, Mercer Vale Development, or any third-party testing provider related to Noah Mercer, Avery Mercer, paternity, sample correction, exclusion language, or prenatal testing. Lowell's eyes flicked sharply at prenatal testing. There it was. Mara saw it too. Doctor, she said, would you like to revise your position? He lowered his voice. Not here. We were led into a consultation room with beige walls and a framed certificate from a medical school that probably regretted him. Lowell closed the door. I didn't falsify anything, he said immediately. Mara sat without being invited. Then explain, Mr. Mercer requested a private paternity screening. With what sample? A toothbrush. My stomach turned. Noah's toothbrush from Ethan's mother's house. Probably, last Saturday, when Diane had insisted. Noah stay overnight because grandmothers deserve memories. Mara's expression did not change. And Ethan's sample, he provided a cheek swab, verified. No, it was private. Then you knew the report should not be used for legal or custody purposes. I told him that. Did you write that on the report? Lowell looked down. Doctor, Mara said, the third-party lab template has disclaimers. Mr. Mercer asked for a simplified summary. A simplified summary that removed limitations. I did not think he would use it this way. I leaned forward. How did you think he would use a report saying a 5-year-old was not his? Lowell swallowed. No answer. Mara continued. Why does the invoice say Noah sample correction? He winced. That was internal shorthand. For what? There was an issue. What issue? He looked at the door. Mara's voice hardened. Doctor, the first sample Mr. Mercer brought did not produce a usable profile. He returned with another item. What item? A child's water bottle. I closed my eyes. Diane again, or Ethan, or both, and the result excluded Ethan. Mara asked. Lowell hesitated. The result was inconclusive initially. My eyes opened. Mara leaned in. That is not what the report says. I know. Who changed the language? I didn't change data. Who changed the language? He rubbed his forehead. Mr. Mercer was very insistent. He said he needed clear wording for a private family matter. He said ambiguity would harm everyone. I stared at him. So you let him turn ambiguity into 0%? No, I referred him to a private document consultant who formats summaries. Mara laughed once, softly. It was not amused. A document consultant. Lowell looked smaller by the second. Did Vanessa Hale use your office? Mara asked. His face shut down. I cannot discuss other clients. So yes, I didn't say that. You reacted when I mentioned prenatal testing. You reacted now. Preserve those records. I cannot release them without consent or subpoena. We are aware, Mara said. Preserve them. He looked at me. For the first time, something like shame appeared. I didn't know the child would be present, he said. I stood. That is not the part you should be ashamed of. Outside, the air felt colder. Mara waited until we were in the parking lot before speaking. He is scared. He admitted the result was inconclusive. Informally. We need it in writing or under oath. Will he give it, if Ethan stops paying him or threatens him? Maybe. My phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. Ethan, I know you went to Lowell. You are crossing lines. I held it up for Mara. She smiled faintly. That was fast. How did he know? Lowell called him. Good, very. Panic makes networks visible. Back at my father's house. Richard was in the study with a legal pad. He had drawn a timeline. March the 2nd. Vanessa prenatal consultation. March the 14th. Lowell payment. Noah sample correction. March the 21st. Ethan asks Lena to delete emails. April the 3rd. Vanessa rent transfer increases. April the 18th. Dinner ambush. April the 19th. Proposed separation agreement. He added Dr. Lowell's verbal admission. Then he circled Vanessa prenatal consultation. She knew before Ethan moved against Noah, he said, or suspected. Yes. Why would she encourage him to test Noah if she had doubts about her own baby? My father looked at the timeline. Because if Noah was discredited first, her child became emotionally necessary. I sat down slowly. She needed my son gone before her own truth came out. My father nodded. That would be my concern. Mara called while we were still staring at the timeline. Ethan's attorney just contacted me. She said, they want a meeting. About what? A global settlement. I laughed. Already? Yes. And they want it before the second test results return. My father's eyes sharpened. Mara continued. They are offering more money. Confidentiality. Primary residence for you and Noah outside the marital home. But no formal admission from Ethan regarding paternity. No, I assumed. What do they really want? They want you to agree that the first report remains private and that no party pursues claims related to report preparation. I looked at my father. Lowell had called Ethan. Ethan had called his lawyer. Now Ethan wanted settlement before the real report. He knows, I said. He knows enough to be afraid. Mara replied that night, after Noah fell asleep. I found a message request on social media. The profile name was Graham Vale. My pulse quickened. Mercer Vale Development. Vale. I opened it. Graham Vale, Mrs. Mercer. I believe Vanessa Hale has involved me in a situation without my consent. We need to talk before this becomes public. I stared at the message, then I called Mara. She answered on the second ring. What happened? I read it aloud. Mara was silent for one beat, then she said, "Do not respond yet." But I already knew one thing. The lie had more fathers than Ethan. Vanessa Hale smiled like a woman who had practiced in mirrors. She smiled with her lips first, never her eyes. She smiled when reporters took photos at charity events. She smiled when Diane praised her grace under pressure. She smiled when Ethan placed a hand on her back in public, always just high enough to look protective and just low enough to humiliate me at the children's literacy luncheon. She smiled as if she had not tried to insert herself into my son's school records 48 hours earlier. I had not planned to attend. The luncheon was one of my mother's old charities, hosted annually at the Rosemorn Club. I had chaired the event for years before stepping down after Noah was born. This year, I was supposed to send a donation and stay home. Then Diane posted a photo online. She stood beside Vanessa in the Rosemorn Club lobby, both dressed in pale colors, the caption reading, "Family is not always who we expect. Sometimes truth brings blessings." I stared at the photo for a long time, then I changed clothes, not for Diane, not for Vanessa, not even for Ethan, for my mother, whose name was still on the foundation wall inside that club, for Noah, whose identity had been dragged through a dining room by people now posing as moral survivors, for myself, because hiding had begun to feel too much like agreeing. I wore black, simple, sleeveless, my mother's pearl earrings, no wedding ring. My father offered to accompany me. "No," I said, "but stay near your phone." His mouth twitched. Always. The Rosemorn Club smelled of lilies, perfume, and old money trying to look charitable. Women in soft jackets held champagne flutes while discussing school boards and silent auctions. Men clustered near the windows pretending they had come for literacy and not networking. The conversation thinned when I entered. I saw Diane first. She was near the donor wall, one hand on Vanessa's arm. Vanessa wore ivory, of course. Her pregnancy was just visible enough to invite congratulations. Ethan stood beside them, speaking to a board member. He saw me and froze. That was worth the drive. Diane turned. Her expression went from surprise to fury to performance in less than a second. "Avery," she called, voice bright and brittle. "How brave of you to come." Several heads turned. I walked toward her with a smile that felt calm because it was not trying to be kind. "Diane," I said, "how predictable of you to post." Vanessa's smile trembled. "I hope this won't be uncomfortable." "It already is," I said, "but not for the reason you think." Ethan stepped between us slightly. "Avery, this is not the place. That has never stopped you." His eyes flicked around the room. He cared about the audience. Good. So did I. The event chair, Margaret Wells, approached with cautious warmth. "Avery, I didn't know you were coming. I decided I should," I said. "My mother helped build this program. It felt wrong to let misinformation stand in rooms she loved." Margaret's gaze moved to Diane. Diane laughed lightly. "Family matters are complicated. So are fraudulent reports," I said. The silence around us widened. Ethan's face hardened. "Careful, I am." Vanessa touched her stomach and gave the room a pained look. "I don't think stress is good for the baby." It was beautifully done. A soft reminder, a shield, a weapon. I looked at her hand, then perhaps avoid creating it. Her eyes flashed. Ethan lowered his voice. "Leave her alone." "Why?" "She hasn't left my child alone," a woman behind Margaret whispered. "What does that mean?" I did not answer. Not yet. Mara had warned me. Do not reveal evidence too early. Let them talk. Diane stepped closer. "Avery, you need help. This obsession with attacking a pregnant woman is not healthy." There it was. Public smear. Wrapped in concern, I tilted my head. "Did you tell these women why she was at Noah's school?" Vanessa's face changed. Diane blinked. "What?" Ethan's voice cut in. That was a misunderstanding. Margaret's eyebrows rose. At Noah's school, I kept my eyes on Vanessa. She tried to add herself to my son's emergency contact process. That is not true, Vanessa said. I smiled. Careful. The word landed exactly where I wanted it. She realized I had documentation. Her mouth closed. Ethan stepped closer to me. You are making yourself look unstable. I turned slightly so the nearest guests could hear clearly. My husband brought a questionable DNA report to a family dinner, told our 5-year-old he was not his father, seated his pregnant mistress next to his mother, then tried to add that mistress to our son's school access list. If objecting to that looks unstable, I accept the label. Someone gasped softly. Diane's face drained of color. Ethan looked like he wanted to grab my arm but knew better in public. Vanessa recovered first. You twist everything, she said, eyes shining now. Ethan has been trapped in a painful marriage for years. He deserves peace. And the house? I asked. She blinked. What? Does he deserve the house too? Ethan said. Avery. I ignored him. Did he promise it before or after the fake report? Vanessa's lips parted. I watched her decide whether to retreat or attack. She chose wrong. You don't even want that house, she said softly. You've always acted like it was beneath you. Interesting. Her eyes narrowed. Ethan built a life there. Diane made it a family home. You just brought your father's money and acted superior. A few women shifted. Diane whispered, Vanessa. But Vanessa had been waiting too long to play humble. The mask was slipping, and resentment came through like heat. You think because your last name opens doors, everyone should bow. But Ethan promised me our child would grow up in a home where love wasn't used as leverage. Our child, I repeated. Ethan stared at her. Vanessa realized the possessive had done damage. She touched her stomach again. I mean his child, our future, the baby. I took one step closer. You said Ethan promised you the house. She lifted her chin. He said he would make sure I was safe. With my son erased, I didn't erase anyone. No, you only texted that a real Mercer heir changes everything. Her eyes widened around us. The room had gone almost completely silent. I did not pull out my phone. I did not need to. Her face confirmed enough for the audience. Ethan looked at Vanessa. You texted that. She turned toward him. Panicked. I was upset. She was attacking you. I hadn't spoken to you, I said. Margaret Wells took a small step away from Diane. Diane saw it. That was her first real public cost. Not financial, social, worse. To her she forced a laugh. This is all very unfortunate. Avery is clearly hurting. I looked at Margaret. I apologize for bringing this into your event. I came because my mother's name is on that wall, and I will not let anyone use this charity as a backdrop for laundering cruelty. Margaret's face softened. Your mother would be glad you came. Diane flinched. Vanessa's phone rang. The sound was too loud in the quiet. She glanced at the screen and rejected the call quickly. But not before I saw the name Graham. Her hand shook. I had not responded to Graham Vale's message. Mara had instructed me not to. But his name appearing on Vanessa's phone at the precise moment her future with Ethan was being discussed felt like the universe had a flair for timing. Ethan saw the name too. Who is Graham? He asked. Vanessa looked up too quickly. A client who keeps calling you. Her cheeks flushed. This is not the time. I almost admired the symmetry. Ethan had brought me to a table and demanded I answer for an invented man, now a real one, was calling his mistress in public. Vanessa stepped away. I need the restroom. I followed after waiting exactly 10 seconds. Not into the restroom. That would be too obvious. I stopped in the hallway outside, near a marble table with a flower arrangement large enough to hide my phone. I placed it on the table, recorder on, screen down. Vanessa came out 2 minutes later. Her softness was gone. You are enjoying this, she hissed. No, I said, I'm learning. You think you're so dignified. I think you came for my child. Your child is not the problem. Then what is? She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You were always the problem. Ethan could have been happy years ago if you didn't hold him with your father's money and that sad little family routine. Is that what he told you? He didn't have to. I watched you. Perfect Avery, Saint Avery, Mother Avery. You made him feel small. No, Ethan felt small and blamed me for being able to stand upright. Her eyes hardened. He wants a real family. With you, with someone who trusts him. Someone who can give him a child without a question mark. There it was. I kept my voice quiet. You sound very sure. I am. Then why did you have a prenatal paternity consultation 2 months ago? The blood left her face for one breath. She looked naked, not physically, worse, strategically. Then she smiled. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know you build something carelessly. Her hand moved toward her stomach, no longer maternal, protective, defensive. If you go after my medical privacy, I will destroy you, she whispered. You tried to destroy my son's identity, because he is in the way. The words came out before she could catch them. My phone lay on the marble table between Lily's, recording. I looked at her. She realized. Her eyes dropped to the phone. I picked it up before she moved. Thank you, I said. She lunged for it. I stepped back. At the end of the hallway, Margaret Wells appeared with another board member. They had seen enough. Vanessa's hand reaching, my phone in my grip, her face twisted with rage. Vanessa instantly folded into tears. She's threatening me, she cried. I looked at Margaret. No, she just said my son is in the way. Margaret's expression hardened. Vanessa shook her head. No, I didn't. I held up the phone. We can check. She froze. Ethan entered the hallway at that moment, Diane behind him. What happened? He demanded. Vanessa turned to him, crying. She followed me. She accused me. She's obsessed with my baby. I met Ethan's eyes. Ask her who Graham is, I said. The crying stopped. Ethan looked at Vanessa. Who is Graham? He asked again. Vanessa whispered. No one. My phone buzzed in my hand. A message from Mara. Mara, Graham Vale's attorney just contacted me. He wants to discuss Vanessa before subpoenas begin. I looked from the message to Vanessa's pale face, then to Ethan, who was beginning to understand that the woman he had chosen as proof of his future might be carrying a past he had never been told about. I slipped the phone into my purse. Enjoy the luncheon, I said. Then I walked out, leaving Ethan in the hallway with a mistress who had just smiled herself into suspicion. Graham Vale did not look like a man who wanted to be brave. He looked like a man who wanted a problem to disappear quietly and had recently discovered that problems involving Vanessa Hale did not disappear. They multiplied, wore ivory dresses, and submitted clinic bills through the wrong accounts. He met Mara and me in a conference room at his attorney's office. His lawyer, Celestine, sat beside him with a yellow legal pad and the expression of someone paid well to keep panic organized. Graham was in his late 40s, handsome in a tired way, with a wedding ring he kept turning around his finger. That ring told me almost everything before he spoke. I did not know she was telling Ethan the baby was his, he said. Mara said, start earlier. Graham looked at me. Mrs. Mercer, I'm sorry. I said nothing. Apologies had become cheap currency. He swallowed. Vanessa and I had an affair. It ended in January. She contacted me in March and said she was pregnant. And, Mara asked, she said she wasn't sure. She wanted money for testing. Prenatal paternity consultation. He nodded. I paid part of it. Celeste placed a folder on the table. My client has records showing transfers to MS Hale for medical consultation and text messages discussing possible paternity. We are not conceding paternity. We are stating MS Hale represented uncertainty. I looked at Graham. Did Ethan know? No, at least, I don't think so. Why contact me? His face tightened. Because Vanessa called me after the charity luncheon. She said if your side dragged me into this, she would tell my wife everything and claim I pressured her. You did have an affair, I said. He flinched. Yes, so your wife deserves truth too, Celeste intervened. Mrs. Mercer, my client is prepared to cooperate within lawful limits. But we are not here to litigate his marriage. I almost laughed. Everyone wanted to isolate their damage. Ethan wanted to isolate paternity from money. Vanessa wanted to isolate pregnancy from Graham. Graham wanted to isolate betrayal from consequences. But lies do not respect boundaries. They spread until truth quarantines them. Mara accepted copies of the texts and transfers. She did not ask for medical records. She did not overreach. She only established what mattered, before Vanessa helped. Ethan framed Noah as illegitimate. She had already sought money from another man because she did not know who fathered her baby. As we left, Graham stopped me near the elevator. I didn't know about your son, he said. Would it have mattered? He looked ashamed. I'd like to think so. That is not an answer. No. He admitted, "It probably isn't." I walked away before his guilt tried to become my responsibility. By the time I reached my car, Ethan had begun his counterattack. The first message came from Lauren Mercer. "Lauren, Avery, I thought you should know. Diane is telling everyone you followed Vanessa into a bathroom and threatened her pregnancy. Then Mark, Ethan says you're stalking Vanessa and trying to get her medical records. I don't know what's true, but this is getting bad." Then an email from Paul Renner to Mara. "Mr. Mercer is deeply concerned by Mrs. Mercer's escalating fixation on MS Hale reports being followed, verbally attacked, and threatened at a charity event. If this behavior continues, Mr. Mercer will seek appropriate protective relief." Mara called me before I could finish reading. "Do not panic," she said. "I'm not panicking, I'm furious." "Good. Fury is more useful if it stays organized. I have the hallway recording." "Yes, send it." I did. The recording was clear, Vanessa's voice. "Because he is in the way." Then the rustle when she saw my phone, then her crying performance. Mara listened once and exhaled. "This is useful, she'll say it's edited. Let her." "What about Ethan claiming I'm unstable?" "He is building a narrative. We answer with documentation, not adjectives." Documentation arrived faster than expected. Margaret Wells called me personally that afternoon. "I don't want to be involved in anyone's divorce," she began. "I understand, but what happened at the luncheon was not what Diane is implying." I closed my eyes in relief. "Would you be willing to provide a statement?" A pause. "Yes, I heard Vanessa say something about your son being in the way. I also saw her reach for your phone. I will not speculate beyond that." "That's enough, Avery," she said, softening. "Your mother would have set the room on fire for less." I laughed for the first time in days. It came out watery. "She probably would have done it with better jewelry. She had excellent taste." After the call, I sat in my car outside my father's house and let myself breathe. Then a black SUV pulled up behind me. Ethan got out. I locked the doors. He walked to my window and knocked once. I lowered it 2 inches. "Leave." His face was drawn. He looked like he had not slept. "Good. We need to talk. Through counsel." "No, not everything has to be a legal performance." I stared at him. He had said that in front of my father, my lawyer, his attorney, a lab technician, and half a charity board in spirit if not body. The audacity was almost impressive. "You made our marriage a legal performance when you served me separation terms based on a fake DNA report." His jaw tightened. "It was not fake. The first result was inconclusive before you paid for clarity." His face changed. He recovered too late. "Lowell is covering himself," he said. "So you admit you spoke to him?" "I spoke to a medical consultant because I had concerns." "No. You spoke to him because Vanessa needed Noah gone." His eyes flashed. "Do not bring her into this. She is in this. She put herself in my son's school. She texted me. She told me he was in the way. She had prenatal paternity concerns before you ever accused me." Ethan looked away. "There, not shock, not enough shock." A cold thought slid through me. "You knew," I said. His eyes snapped back. "Knew what?" "You knew she had doubts." "No, you knew enough to avoid testing her." "That is not true." "Then why did you refuse when my father suggested it?" "Because you were trying to humiliate her. You humiliated Noah." He slammed his hand against the car roof. I did not flinch. The front door of my father's house opened. Richard stepped out. Ethan saw him and stepped back from my car. My father did not hurry. That was somehow worse. He walked down the steps with the calm of a man who had already decided how far he would let another man go. "Ethan," he said. Ethan adjusted his suit jacket. "Richard, I came to speak with my wife. She asked you to leave. This is between us." "No," my father said. "You made it between everyone at your mother's table." Ethan's face flushed. "You always do this. You step in, you make Avery feel powerful, and then she destroys things." My father stopped a few feet away. "Avery was powerful before she married you. You simply benefited from her forgetting." Ethan looked at me through the window. "Is that what this is? You want to punish me because your father told you you're too good for me?" I opened the car door and stepped out. "No," I said. "I want to protect Noah because you told him he was zero." Ethan's expression cracked for a second. I saw the father he had been. The man who cried when Noah took his first steps. The man who stayed up all night during croup. The man who built a cardboard castle and insisted every night needed snacks. then the crack closed. I was lied to, he said. You were not lied to, you chose a lie because it served you. I had doubts. Since when? He looked away. Since Vanessa got pregnant, I asked. Since she told you my son made your life complicated, since your mother started talking about bloodlines, you don't understand what it's like, he said. To what? Have a mistress, a mother obsessed with legacy, a wife whose father's money embarrasses you. His eyes hardened. You always throw that in my face. I never did. That was part of the problem. You think I don't know what people say, that I'm married up? That Callahan money made my company respectable. Did it? He went still. My father said nothing. The silence answered. Ethan's voice dropped. I built my company. You built it with help you resented. And you loved being needed. That one landed closer than I wanted. Maybe because it had some truth in it. I had loved being needed. I had mistaken being useful for being cherished. I had paid bills, hosted dinners, smoothed Diane's insults, softened Ethan's failures, translated his insecurity into ambition, and called it partnership, but truth in his accusation did not excuse the lie in his actions. Yes, I said, I did, and now I'm done. His face shifted. What does that mean? It means I am not paying Diane. I am not protecting your reputation. I am not signing your agreement. I am not helping you turn Vanessa into a victim. I am not teaching Noah that love means begging someone not to erase him. Ethan looked at my father, then back at me. You think you can just cut me off? I already have. His phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. He looked down. Vanessa, I laughed softly. Answer, I said. Your future is calling. His eyes burned. You are enjoying this? No, I'm watching you meet consequences. He answered the call but turned away. Vanessa, not now. I could hear her voice faintly, frantic. Graham's wife called me. She said loudly enough for us all to hear. What did Avery do? Ethan went rigid. My father's eyebrows lifted. I leaned against my car. Ethan lowered his voice and walked away. But not far enough. What do you mean, Graham's wife? He hissed. Vanessa's voice rose. She knows. She knows about everything. Everything. Ethan turned slowly and looked at me. I had not told Graham's wife. But Graham, cowardly as he was, apparently had decided disclosure was safer than exposure. Ethan ended the call without saying goodbye. His face was pale now. Who is Graham? I asked. He said nothing this time. The silence belonged to me. Mara called 10 minutes after Ethan left. I have the preliminary lab notice, she said. Not full results, just confirmation that all samples were accepted and processing is underway. When will we know? Soon. And Graham? His attorney sent the texts. Vanessa definitely represented. That Graham could be the father. Dates overlap. I sat in my father's study with the door closed. Can we use that at the dinner? What dinner? My father wants one final family meeting when the results come. Mara was silent, then she said, Avery, public confrontation can be risky, so was staying quiet. Yes, but we need to control the room. We will, if we do this. It is not a shouting match. It is evidence presented with witnesses. Exactly. Then we wait for the report. After we hung up, I opened the hidden folder. It now contained recordings, bank records, emails, school logs, witness statements, Graham's texts, Vanessa's threats, and Ethan's settlement proposals a week ago. I had been a wife trying to understand why her husband came home smelling like someone else's perfume. Now I was the archivist of his collapse. But that night, when I tucked Noah into bed, he asked a question no folder could answer. Mommy, if the test says Daddy is my daddy, will he say sorry? I sat beside him. I don't know. Should I say sorry too? My heart cracked. No, baby, you have nothing to apologize for. But maybe he got mad because I spilled juice in his car. I pulled him into my arms. No, listen to me. Adults do not stop being parents because of spilled juice. He nodded against me. But I knew he did not fully believe it yet. That was Ethan's worst crime. Not infidelity, not money, not even the fake report. It was that my son was now searching his memory for reasons his father might have unloved him. I held him until he slept. Then I went downstairs, opened my laptop, and began drafting a statement for the day the truth came out. The first line took me 20 minutes, not because I did not know what to say, because I wanted every word to be clean enough for Noah to read someday. Finally, I typed, my son was never uncertain, The adults around him were. The full DNA results did not arrive on the day Ethan expected. That alone made him unravel. By noon, he had called Mara's office twice, emailed his attorney 3 times, and sent me one message pretending he was calm. Ethan, I hope when this is resolved, you will remember I asked for truth, not cruelty. I did not answer. At 1:40 p.m., Paul Renner requested an emergency settlement meeting at 2:15. Mara and I sat across from Ethan and Paul in a glass-walled conference room downtown. My father was not there. I had asked him to stay with Noah. Ethan noticed immediately. No Richard today, he asked. No, his expression shifted. He mistook my father's absence for weakness. Men like Ethan often believed support was the same as dependence because they could not imagine strength that did not dominate the room. Paul opened with a controlled smile. We're all aware emotions have escalated. My client wants to avoid unnecessary damage, especially to the child. The child has a name, I said. Paul inclined his head. Noah, Mara said. State your proposal. Paul slid a folder across the table. I did not touch it. Mara opened it. Her eyes moved quickly over the pages. No, she said. Paul blinked. You haven't discussed it with your client. I can read. Ethan leaned forward. Avery, just look at it. I prefer summaries when someone is trying to steal from me. His jaw tightened. Paul cleared his throat. The proposal provides substantial financial support while allowing all parties to move forward without additional public harm. Mara looked at me. They want you to waive claims related to marital funds used for Vanessa, accept temporary relocation from the marital home, agree to confidentiality, and delay any formal paternity correction until after divorce terms are finalized. I stared at Ethan. Delay correction. He looked uncomfortable, only to avoid confusion. Noah is confused now. This doesn't have to affect him, it already has. Avery, if you force this into court, everything becomes uglier. People will ask questions. They already are. They will ask who you slept with. Mara's voice cut in. Careful. Ethan ignored her. They will ask why the first test excluded me. The first test was manipulated. You can say that all day. I can prove it. His eyes flickered. Paul stepped in. There are disputes about private testing protocols. That does not mean manipulation. Mara opened her folder and removed the Lowell preservation letter. Then your client will have no objection to Dr. Lowell providing records. Paul's expression tightened. Ethan looked at him. There it was. Ethan had not told his own lawyer everything. Mara continued. We also have concerns regarding Mr. Mercer's attempt to use an unverifiable report to alter custody, financial obligations, and residential access. Paul turned a page in his notes. My client has legal rights, so does Noah, I said. Ethan's eyes snapped to me. Do not use him like a shield. The words hit the room so absurdly that even Paul looked pained. I leaned forward. You told him he was not yours in front of your mistress. You sent that mistress to his school. You tried to make me sign away his support. You called him an uncertainty in legal documents. And now you think I'm using him. Ethan flushed. I made mistakes. It was the first time he had said anything close to admission, but it came with no apology. So I did not reward it. Name them, I said. What? Name the mistakes. He looked at Paul. Paul looked down. Ethan's voice hardened. This is why talking to you is impossible. No, it is impossible because you want forgiveness without confession. Mara slid the proposal back across the table. We reject this, she said. We will proceed with the court-admissible results when received. We will also pursue temporary orders protecting Noah's school access, financial support, and residential stability. Paul took the folder. That may not be in your client's best interest. My client understands her interests. Ethan stared at me. Do you understand what happens if this goes public? Yes, you think your father's name protects you from gossip. No, but truth protects Noah from your lie. He leaned back, eyes cold. You always know how to sound noble, and you always know how to sound injured. The meeting ended with no agreement as we left. Ethan followed me into the hallway. Avery, Mara stopped beside me. I turned. What? His face shifted into something softer. It would have worked on me once. It probably had worked on me dozens of times. I miss him, he said. The words struck a place in me that was still bruised enough to feel. Noah, I asked. He nodded. Then why didn't you come after him when we left dinner? His mouth opened, closed. Why didn't you call to ask if he slept? I continued. Why did you send legal threats before you sent him a voice message? Why did you try to add Vanessa to his school before you apologized to him? I was overwhelmed. Noah was destroyed. He looked away. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. If the report comes back proving what I already know, you will not walk back into his life with one sad speech. You will not make him responsible for comforting you. You will earn every supervised minute by telling the truth first. His eyes flashed. Supervised? Yes, I am his father. Then start acting like it. I walked away before he could answer. At my father's house, Richard was teaching Noah how to make scrambled eggs. There were shells in the bowl and flour on the counter. Though no recipe involved flour, cooking is science, Noah informed me, apparently. Explosive science, my father said. I kissed Noah's head and told him to wash his hands. When he ran to the sink, my father looked at me. How was the meeting? They tried to buy delay, of course. Ethan said he misses Noah. My father's face softened, but not with sympathy for Ethan. And you? I believe he misses the version of Noah that made him feel like a good man. My father nodded slowly. That may be the most accurate thing you have said all week. After dinner, we received the call. Mara's name lit up my phone at 7:03 p.m. I answered in the study with my father beside me. The report is in, she said. My heart stopped. And, Noah is Ethan's biological child. The room blurred, not from shock, from release. My knees weakened. My father gripped my shoulder. Mara continued. Probability of paternity exceeds 99%. I covered my mouth. For 5 years, I had known. But knowing inside your body and holding proof against a lie are different kinds of truth. Send it, I whispered. Already encrypted to you and Richard. Also to Paul Renner, per protocol. Does Ethan know? He has it now. I closed my eyes. Noah was upstairs brushing his teeth, unaware that the world had just been forced to stop questioning him. Then Mara's voice changed. There is more. My eyes opened. What? You need to sit down. My father's hand tightened on my shoulder. I sat. Mara took a breath. As you know, Richard's lab contact processed only the legally authorized samples for Noah's test, but after our preservation request, Graham Vale's attorney obtained and forwarded Vanessa's prior prenatal paternity consultation documents voluntarily from Graham's side. Celeste also provided a private test result Vanessa sent Graham. I gripped the phone, and the private prenatal result excluded Graham. I blinked. Excluded Graham. Yes, then Ethan could still be the father. That would be the obvious assumption, Mara said, except Vanessa's own message to Graham references a third possibility. The room went silent. A third man. Yes, and the name matters. My pulse slowed. Who? Dr. Samuel Lowell. For a moment, the words made no sense, then every piece shifted. Lowell, Vanessa's medical consultant, the fake report referral, the prenatal consultation, the fear on his face. My father's voice was flat. Are you certain? Mara said. We have messages suggesting an intimate relationship between Vanessa and Lowell. We do not yet have a paternity confirmation for the fetus. But Vanessa told Graham, if Sam handled the timing right, Ethan will never question it. I stood so quickly the chair hit the wall. Sam Dr. Samuel Lowell, the man who helped Ethan manufacture doubt about Noah, may have been the man Vanessa was protecting, Mara continued. Ethan's attorney called me 2 minutes after receiving Noah's result. He sounded shaken. I did not disclose the Vanessa Lowell information yet. Why not? Because Richard suggested a controlled disclosure. I looked at my father. He held my gaze. What controlled disclosure? I asked. My father said, Diane has requested one final family dinner. I laughed. Of course she has. She called while you were in the meeting. She believes the result will vindicate Ethan or at least pressure you to settle quietly. I told her that if the family wished to discuss Noah again, they would do so in the presence of counsel and complete documentation. You told her yes. I told her we would consider it, Mara said. A public family setting is risky, but it may serve one purpose. Ethan humiliated Noah at that table. Correcting the lie in the same arena has emotional and evidentiary value. I understood this was not about drama, it was about reversal. A wound created in public sometimes needs public air before it can close. What about Vanessa? I asked. Mara's voice sharpened. If she attends and repeats false claims, we respond. If Ethan uses her pregnancy as leverage again, we introduce the documents, my father added. We do not ambush without cause, we let them choose. A bitter smile touched my mouth. They always did that night. After Noah fell asleep, I opened the official report. Ethan James Mercer cannot be excluded as the biological father of Noah Callahan Mercer. Probability of paternity, 99%. I read it once, twice, then I printed 2 copies, one for legal files, one for Noah someday. If he needed proof that the adults who hurt him had lied. At 11:48 p.m., Ethan called. I let it ring. He called again. I answered. His voice was hoarse. Avery. I said nothing. I got the result. Yes, he breathed unsteadily. I don't understand. That Noah is yours. That the first test was fake, inconclusive, he said quickly. Lowell said there may have been an issue with the sample, and you turned that into 0%. I didn't think. No, you didn't. I need to see Noah. No, Avery, please. No, he is my son. I closed my eyes. There it was. The phrase I had wanted for Noah, the phrase I now hated in Ethan's mouth because it came only after science made denial inconvenient. He was your son at dinner too, I said. Ethan started crying quietly, shockingly. I made a terrible mistake. No, a mistake is forgetting pickup time. You bought a report, built a settlement around it, brought your mistress to dinner, and watched your mother call my son another man's child. I was angry. At whom? He said nothing. At me. I asked. At yourself. At Vanessa. At the fact that you wanted out but didn't want to pay the cost. His breathing shook. I need to make it right. You can start at your mother's table. He went quiet. What? She wants a family dinner. We'll come with counsel. You will correct what you said in front of everyone who heard it. Avery, that's humiliating. I looked at the report in my hand. Yes, I said, public lies often are when they meet public truth. He was silent for a long moment, then he whispered, will Vanessa be there? There it was still. Even now my voice went cold. That depends on whether you're still using her baby to replace mine. He did not answer. I hung up. The next morning, Diane sent a formal invitation through Mark. As if manners could disinfect cruelty. Family dinner, Friday, Mercer House. To resolve the matter privately, I replied through Mara. Mrs. Mercer will attend with counsel, Richard Callahan, and relevant documents. The child will not attend. Diane objected immediately. Diane Mercer. Noah should be present if this concerns him. I stared at the text, shaking with a rage so deep it felt calm. Then I wrote back. Myself, Avery. Noah was present when you hurt him. He does not need to be present when you learn you were wrong. She did not reply, but Vanessa did. Vanessa Hale. Be careful what you bring to that dinner. Some truths hurt everyone. I smiled for the first time. Vanessa, and I agreed. Diane Mercer had set the table exactly as she had the first time. Same silver candlesticks, same crystal glasses, same white roses in the center, same china with the thin gold rim. Even the chairs were arranged the same way. As if she believed recreating the scene would let her control the ending. But this time Noah was not there. That alone changed everything. I entered with my father on my left and Mara on my right. I wore the same black dress from the charity luncheon, not because I lacked imagination, but because I had discovered the usefulness of visual continuity. Let them remember exactly when I stopped being decorative. Ethan stood when I walked in. He looked terrible. His suit was immaculate, but his face had collapsed around the eyes. He had shaved badly. There was a small cut near his jaw. His hair, usually styled with corporate precision, looked as if he had run his hands through it all afternoon. Diane sat rigid at the head of the table. Vanessa sat beside her. Of course, her ivory had been replaced by pale blue, perhaps to suggest innocence with seasonal variation. One hand rested on her belly, the other clutched a napkin. Paul Renner was there too, looking like he wished retirement were retroactive. Mark and Lauren sat near the far end. 2 other Mercer relatives occupied seats they clearly regretted accepting. Mara scanned the room. Before anyone begins, this meeting is being recorded. Diane bristled. In my home? Yes, Mara said. If that is unacceptable, we can leave and proceed through court filings. Diane looked at Ethan. Ethan said quietly, it's fine. That was new. Diane did not like it. We sat. No food had been served. Good. I had no intention of watching another report slide. Through gravy, my father placed a sealed folder on the table. Diane looked at it as if it might bite. She folded her hands. We are here because this family has suffered a painful misunderstanding. I almost admired the speed. A misunderstanding, I repeated. Diane lifted her chin. Emotions were high. Noah asked what 0 meant. Her face tightened. I regret that he was upset. Not that you helped upset him. Avery, Ethan said softly. I turned to him. You will get your turn. He looked down. Vanessa spoke, voice gentle. Maybe blame won't help anyone tonight. I looked at her. You should hope not. Her fingers tightened around the napkin. Mara opened her folder. We will keep this structured. First, Ethan will correct the statement he made regarding Noah's paternity. Then we will address the first report. Then, if Ms. Hale's pregnancy is again raised as relevant to family status, inheritance, custody pressure, or settlement, we will address related documentation. Vanessa went. Still, Diane snapped. Vanessa's baby has nothing to do with this. I looked at her. It did when you seated her at your table as the replacement heir. That is a disgusting accusation. It is an accurate description. Ethan closed his eyes. Paul Renner cleared his throat. My client is prepared to make a statement. Mara nodded. Ethan stood for a moment. No one moved. He looked at the table. Then at me, not at Vanessa, not at his mother, at me. The court-admissible DNA test confirms that Noah is my biological son, he said. The words entered the room and changed its structure. Lauren covered her mouth. Mark looked at Diane. Diane's face went grey. Vanessa stared at Ethan as if his correction were a betrayal of her. Ethan continued, voice rough. The probability of paternity is 99%. The statement I made at the previous dinner was wrong. My father spoke for the first time. Wrong how? Ethan's jaw tightened. Paul glanced at him sharply. Ethan swallowed. Wrong factually. My father leaned back, and morally. Ethan's eyes lifted. The room held its breath. Yes, Ethan said. Morally. Diane whispered. Ethan. He flinched. I did not. Mara placed the official report on the table and slid copies to Paul and Diane. This is the certified result, she said. Verified collection. Chain of custody. Counsel notice. Accepted samples. Diane picked up the report. Her hands shook. She read the number 99% for 5 full seconds. She said nothing. Then she looked at me, not apologetically, accusingly. Why didn't you simply agree to this quietly from the beginning? I stared at her. Lauren made a sound under her breath. Oh my God, Mark said. Mom. Diane turned on him. What? This entire nightmare could have been avoided. Yes, I said, if your son had not created it. Ethan sank back into his chair. Vanessa leaned toward him. You were scared. Anyone would have been. I looked at her. No, anyone would have asked for a real test before traumatizing a child. Her eyes flashed. You keep using that word. Traumatizing. Child. The room went silent. My father's gaze sharpened. Vanessa realized too late how it sounded. I mean, she said quickly, you keep making this only about Noah when Ethan was hurting too. Mara wrote something down. I smiled faintly. Thank you for clarifying your priorities. Vanessa's face flushed. Paul Renner spoke carefully. Regarding the initial private report, my client relied on information provided by a consultant. We are investigating irregularities. Mara opened another document. Your client paid Lowell Medical Consulting on March 14th. The memo line reads Noah sample correction. Paul's mouth tightened. Mara continued. We also have an email from Dr. Lowell to Mr. Mercer warning that without verified collection, result language should be limited. Mr. Mercer replied. I'm paying for clarity, not caveats. Ethan stared at the table. Diane looked at him. Ethan. He did not answer. My father said. You knew the report was not reliable. Ethan's voice was low. I thought it confirmed what I feared. What you feared, I said, or what you wanted. He looked at me then. The answer was in his face. Diane whispered. Ethan. Tell me you didn't. Vanessa reached for his hand. He pulled away. A small movement, a huge one. Her face hardened. My client will not respond to accusations without formal discovery, Paul said. Mara nodded. Expected. Then Diane made the mistake Vanessa had probably feared. She turned to me, desperate to redirect. None of this changes that Ethan has another child coming. This family must think about the future. Vanessa closed her eyes. Mara looked at me. My father's face became very still. I asked Diane, "Do you want to discuss Vanessa's baby as part of the family future?" "Of course," Diane snapped. "That child is innocent." "I agree," I said. "The child is innocent." Vanessa stood abruptly. "I don't feel well." Mara's voice was calm. "Sit down, Ms. Hale." Vanessa glared at her. "You cannot force me to stay." "No," Mara said, "but if you leave after Diane introduces your pregnancy as relevant to this matter, we will proceed through formal filings." Ethan looked at Vanessa. "What is going on?" he asked. Vanessa turned to him. "Nothing. They are trying to humiliate me." I looked at Ethan and almost felt sorry for him. "Almost." "Ethan," I said, "when my father suggested testing everyone properly, why did Vanessa panic?" Vanessa snapped. "I did not panic." Mara removed a document. "Before Mr. Mercer ordered the private report concerning Noah, Ms. Hale sought prenatal paternity consultation funded in part by Graham Vale." Ethan turned slowly toward Vanessa. The room froze. "Graham," he said. Vanessa's voice shook. "It was a misunderstanding." Mara placed copies of Graham's transfer records and selected text messages on the table. Ms. Hale represented to Mr. Vale that he could be the father of her baby. Mara said, "Mr. Vale has provided these records voluntarily through counsel." Diane's hand went to her throat. Ethan picked up the page, his face drained. Vanessa rushed toward him. "Ethan, listen to me." I was scared. "Graham meant nothing." "Graham meant nothing," he repeated. "It was before us." Mara said, "The dates overlap." Vanessa glared at her. "You don't know my life." "No," I said, "but we know your calendar." Ethan read another message. His voice became hollow. "You told him you needed money for testing." I was confused. "You told me there was no one else. You were married." She snapped. The mask was gone now. Completely, everyone saw it. The soft pregnant victim disappeared, and in her place stood a cornered woman, furious that the rules she exploited had turned against her. Ethan stared at her. "You told me this baby was mine. It could be." "Could." The word hit him like a slap. Diane made a strangled sound. "My father spoke quietly. There is more." Vanessa's head snapped toward him. Mara placed one final page on the table. "This is a text message from Ms. Hale to Mr. Vale," she said. "It references a third possible father." Ethan looked at the page. I watched his eyes move over the words. "If Sam handled the timing right, Ethan will never question it." Ethan looked up. "Sam," he whispered. Vanessa backed away from the table. Diane said, "Who is Sam?" No one answered. They did not need to, dear. Samuel Lowell's name had already been spoken enough times that the room connected it together. Ethan stood so fast his chair fell backward. "Lowell," he said. Vanessa's face crumpled. "Ethan, please, you slept with Lowell." "It wasn't like that. He helped me with the test." "Yes," she said, crying now, "because you needed certainty." Ethan laughed once. It sounded broken. "Certainty." Vanessa reached for him. "I did it for us." "No, you did it for yourself. You were never going to leave her cleanly unless you had a reason." The room went utterly still. There it was, the truth, finally spoken by the person who thought herself clever enough to choreograph everyone else. Mara's pen stopped. My father looked at Ethan. I looked at Vanessa. Ethan whispered, "You told me Noah might not be mine. I said you had doubts. You planted them. You already resented her." Vanessa cried. "You resented her father, her money, her perfect little motherhood act." "I only said what you wanted to hear." The words landed everywhere, on Diane, who had fed that resentment, on Ethan, who had used it, on me, who had mistaken resentment for stress. Vanessa turned to me, tears streaking her makeup. "Don't look so innocent. You loved being better than him." I stood slowly. "No," I said. "I loved him when he felt smaller than he wanted to be. That was my mistake." Ethan looked at me. Something like grief moved through his face. "Too late, always too late." Paul Renner gathered the documents with the grim efficiency of a man watching his client's case catch fire. Diane whispered, "Vanessa, is this baby Ethan's?" Vanessa said nothing. That silence was louder than any report. Ethan backed away from her. Then he looked at the official DNA result proving Noah was his son. He sat down like his legs had failed. "I erased my own child," he said. No one comforted him for once. No one rushed to manage Ethan Mercer's feelings. I picked up my purse. Mara closed her folder. My father stood. Diane looked at me, face shattered but still proud enough to resist humility. Avery. I paused. She swallowed. I was misled. I looked at her. No, I said. You were eager. Her mouth opened. No words came. I turned to Ethan. You will issue a written correction to every person who heard or received the accusation. You will sign temporary orders confirming support, school access protections, and no contact between Vanessa and Noah. You will cooperate with discovery regarding the fake report and marital funds. His eyes were wet. Avery, please, no. Can I see him? Not until a child therapist says it is safe and a court order defines how. Pain moved across his face. Good. Pain meant something had finally reached him as we walked toward the door. Vanessa spoke behind me. You think you won, she said. I turned. She stood near the table, one hand on her stomach, face twisted with hatred and fear. No, I said. I think my son stopped losing. Then I left the Mercer dining room for the second time. This time, I did not carry a fake report. I carried the truth. Truth did not end the war, it changed the terrain. By Monday morning, Ethan's public correction had gone out to every relative who attended the first dinner, every person Diane had texted, and several social contacts who had heard her version through whispers wrapped in concern. It was not poetic. Mara made sure of that. The statement read, Ethan James Mercer, previously made statements questioning the paternity of Noah Callahan Mercer. Those statements were based on an unreliable private report and were false. A court-admissible DNA test confirms that Noah is my biological son. I regret the harm caused by my statements and ask that no further speculation be directed toward Avery Callahan Mercer or Noah. Mara called it sufficient. I called it bloodless. My father called it a beginning, not repentance. Noah did not read it. He was building a Lego spaceship in the library when the emails went out. I watched him argue with my father about whether rockets needed cup holders and decided that childhood did not need every truth immediately. Some corrections belong first to the adults who spread the lie. The consequences came in layers. First, Diane, her sister called her, then her cousin, then Lauren's mother, who apparently possessed the social reach of a small intelligence agency. By noon, Diane had removed her family post from social media. By 2, she had sent me a text. Diane Mercer, I hope someday you understand that I was protecting my son. I stared at it, then I replied, Avery, I was protecting mine. She did not answer. Second, Vanessa, Graham Vale's wife, filed for legal separation and named Vanessa in the petition. I learned this from Mara, not gossip. Celestine had sent a courtesy notice because Graham's cooperation documents might become part of discovery. Vanessa sent Ethan 34 messages in one afternoon. I knew because Ethan forwarded them to Mara as part of his sudden attempt to appear cooperative. Vanessa, you can't abandon me now. Vanessa, Avery set this up. Vanessa, the baby could still be yours. Vanessa, your mother promised I would be safe. Vanessa, if you let them ruin me, I'll tell everyone what you asked Sam to do. Vanessa, you wanted that report. Vanessa, you said Noah didn't feel like yours anymore. That last one sat in my chest like a stone. Noah didn't feel like yours anymore, not because of biology, because Ethan had emotionally withdrawn and then searched for science to justify it. Third, Dr. Lowell, faced with preservation demands, Ethan's panic, Vanessa's threats, and Mara's formal notice of potential fraud involving a minor child, Lowell's attorney contacted us within 48 hours. He wanted to clarify. Clarify, I had learned, was the polite word people used when confession had legal consequences. We met in Mara's office. Lowell looked worse than he had at his clinic. His attorney, a nervous man with a too large briefcase, did most of the talking at first. Mara listened for 5 minutes before saying, "We are not here for atmosphere, we are here for facts." Lowell folded. He admitted Ethan had provided non-verified samples. He admitted the initial result had been inconclusive due to sample problems. He admitted he referred Ethan to a third-party service that produced simplified language. He admitted Vanessa had been present for one consultation regarding family transition planning. My stomach turned at that phrase. Family transition planning. Erasing Noah had sounded so clean in their mouths. Then Mara asked, "Did you have a personal relationship with Vanessa Hale?" Lowell's attorney objected. Lowell closed his eyes. "Yes," he said, "during the relevant time period. Yes." "Did that relationship influence your handling of Ethan Mercer's report?" He looked at me. I did not blink. "Yes." He whispered. There it was, not full justice, not yet, but enough. Ethan had thought the fake report would make me powerless. Instead, it had turned everyone connected to it into a liability. Fourth, money. This was where Ethan's regret found its limit. He could apologize in statements, he could cry in hallways, he could forward Vanessa's messages. But when Mara sent the first formal demand for accounting of marital funds spent on Vanessa, his cooperation thinned. His attorney claimed certain expenses were business-related. Mara replied with dates, receipts, and locations. The business dinner at Hotel Lawn matched Vanessa's birthday. The consulting retainer went to M. Hale Interiors, a Shell LLC registered to Vanessa's apartment. The client wellness expense matched a prenatal clinic invoice. The executive housing support matched Vanessa's rent. Mara sent the spreadsheet at 9:00 a.m. At 9:27, Ethan called me. I answered because Mara had told me that if I did, I should record. I did. Avery, we need to discuss the financial claims, he said. No, Mara does. You know those numbers are misleading. Which ones? He exhaled. Some of those expenses were for networking, at maternity boutiques. Silence. You are trying to destroy me, he said. No, I am asking you to reimburse money you took from our household to fund your affair. I was going to pay it back. When? No answer. Before or after you made me sign away claims? His voice sharpened. You have the house, you have your father, you have Noah. What more do you want? I looked around my father's study, at the boxes of documents, at the copy of Noah's report, at my wedding ring sealed in a small plastic bag. I want you to stop confusing accountability with greed. I said I was sorry. No, you said you regret harm. Your lawyer wrote it. He was breathing hard now. What do you want me to say? The truth. I made a mistake. Still not it. What, Avery? What exact sentence will satisfy you? I closed my eyes. Noah's voice echoed in my memory. I don't want to be zero. I opened my eyes. Say you knew the report was not reliable and used it anyway. Silence. Say you let Vanessa and your mother help you turn our son into leverage. More silence. Say you wanted to reduce the cost of leaving me. His voice cracked. That's not fair. It's true. You don't understand what it felt like to be trapped in a marriage where every room had your father's shadow in it. Then you should have left with honesty. I couldn't. No, you wouldn't. Honesty would have cost you money and image. The lie cost Noah. He made a sound that might have been grief. It might have been anger. With Ethan, the two had always been neighbors. I love him, he said. You harmed him. Both can be true. Yes, I said. That is why this is tragic instead of simple. For once, he had no defense. I ended the call. Later that day, the Callahan Family Trust withdrew its non-binding support letter from Mercervale Developments Harborline project. It was not revenge. That letter had been based on confidence in Ethan's leadership and ethical conduct. My father, as trustee, informed the board that recent developments created unacceptable reputational risk. Ethan called my father within 10 minutes. My father did not answer. By evening, 2 investors requested review. By the next morning, the Harborline project paused pending internal assessment. Ethan sent me one message. Ethan, this will affect employees. I replied. Avery, then you should not have built business credibility on people you were willing to betray. He did not reply, but Mark did. Mark, Ethan is losing it. Mom is blaming Vanessa. Vanessa is threatening everyone. I should have said something at dinner. I'm sorry, I read the message twice, then I responded. Avery, you should have. Thank you for saying it now. People wanted late apologies to count like early courage. They did not. But sometimes they could still be part of the record. The court hearing for temporary orders took place 3 days later. It was not dramatic in the way people imagine court. No shouting, no slammed gavels, just fluorescent lights, wood benches, murmured names, and pain translated into schedules. Mara presented the fake report issue, the school incident, Ethan's contradictory statements, the official DNA result, and the need for child-centered safeguards. Paul Renner looked exhausted. Ethan sat across the aisle. He kept looking back at me. I did not look away. When the judge asked Ethan whether he understood that no third party should approach Noah without agreement, he said yes. When the judge asked whether he would support therapeutic reunification before unsupervised parenting time, he hesitated. The judge noticed. Mr. Mercer, she said, your child heard you deny him. Ethan swallowed. Yes, Your Honor. Then this is not about your convenience. His face reddened. I understand. Temporary orders granted, no unilateral school changes, no contact between Vanessa and Noah, temporary child support based on Ethan's income, use and possession of the marital home. Reserved pending further proceedings, but I chose to remain at my father's house until locks and legal access were resolved. Therapeutic guidance required before Ethan's parenting time resumed, evidence preservation ordered regarding the initial report. It was not the final victory, but it was the first official wall between my son and Ethan's chaos outside the courtroom. Ethan approached me. Mara stepped slightly forward. He stopped. I know you hate me, he said. I don't have time to hate you. That seemed to hurt more. I want to apologize to Noah. When his therapist says it's appropriate, I'm his father. Yes, I said, that is why the standard is higher. His eyes filled. Avery, please, don't let him forget the good parts. I felt the old instinct rise. Comfort him, soften it. Tell him Noah remembered bedtime stories, bike rides, pancake stars. Tell him he was not entirely a monster. Then I thought of my son asking if spilled juice made fathers stop loving. No, I said. Ethan blinked. No, I will not manage your image in his memory. You can build whatever truth you are brave enough to earn. He covered his face with one hand. For years, that gesture would have pulled me toward him. Now I walked past. In the parking lot, my father waited beside his car. He had not entered the courtroom because he wanted this to be mine, but he was there at the edge of it, steady as a lighthouse. How did it go? He asked. We got temporary orders. Good, Ethan cried. My father opened the passenger door for me. Crying is sometimes grief, sometimes self-pity. Time tells the difference. I got in on the drive home. I looked out at the city and felt the shape of my life changing, not healed, not finished, but no longer under Ethan's narration. That night, Noah asked if we could visit the marital house to get his space books. I hesitated, then I said yes. Mara had arranged for a locksmith and a neutral property officer to be present. Ethan was not there. The house felt strange when we entered. It smelled like lemon polish and absence. Noah walked into his room and stopped. Everything was the same. Rocket curtains, blue rug, bookshelf, stuffed animals lined along the bed. He touched the bedpost. Do I still live here? He asked. I knelt beside him. You live with me, I said, wherever we sleep, wherever we keep your dinosaurs, wherever your books are. Home is not a house someone can vote you out of. He thought about that. Can my books live at Grandpa's? Yes, all of them. If Grandpa complains, we'll remind him he owns too many law books. Noah smiled, a real smile, small, but real. We packed 3 boxes. At the bottom of his closet, I found an old Father's Day card. Noah had drawn Ethan as a stick figure with enormous arms. My daddy gives the best hugs. I sat on the floor holding it while Noah chose books. The grief came then, not for the marriage I had lost, for the father Noah had lost while the man was still alive. I put the card in a separate folder, not evidence, memory. Because someday Noah might need to know the good parts were real too, even if they were not enough to save the person who betrayed them. As we left the house, my phone buzzed. Mara, settlement update. She wrote, Ethan is ready to discuss final terms. A second message followed. Vanessa has filed a public statement claiming Ethan manipulated her and forced her to participate in the fake report. I stared at the screen. Of course, the betrayers had begun betraying each other. I looked at Noah buckling his dinosaur into the back seat. Then I typed back, good. Let them tell the truth badly until we tell it cleanly. The final divorce agreement was signed in a courthouse conference room that smelled of coffee, printer toner, and rain-soaked wool. No grand speech. No dramatic collapse, no music swelling under the moment when a marriage became paperwork, just Mara turning pages, Paul Renner checking clauses, Ethan holding a pen like it weighed more than the life he had tried to rewrite. I sat across from him. My wedding ring was not on my finger. It had not been for weeks. Mara had asked if I wanted it returned from the evidence file after the dinner recording was preserved. I said no, let it remain where it belonged. Inside the record of what ended us. The agreement gave me primary physical custody of Noah. Ethan would have therapeutic reunification sessions, then supervised visitation, then a graduated schedule only if the therapist recommended it and the court approved. He would pay child support. He would reimburse marital funds spent on Vanessa that could not be justified as legitimate business expenses. He would issue no further statements questioning Noah's paternity. He would not permit Vanessa, Diane, or any romantic partner to contact Noah without written agreement. The marital home would be sold unless I chose to buy out Ethan's share after credits for my premarital contribution and the diverted funds. I did not want the house that surprised people. Diane thought I would fight for it because Vanessa wanted it. Ethan thought I would keep it as punishment. Even Mara asked twice. But houses remember. That house remembered Ethan teaching Noah to ride a scooter in the driveway. It remembered Diane criticizing my curtains. It remembered me waiting up at midnight while Ethan lied about meetings. It remembered the nursery walls we painted pale green before Noah was born. It also remembered the week my son asked whether he still lived there. I did not want to raise him inside walls that had learned uncertainty. So I chose the buyout credit, future sale, and a clean residence elsewhere. Ethan looked up when Mara reached the non-disparagement and correction clause. I already corrected it, he said. Mara replied, this prevents future revisions. His face tightened. He signed when it was my turn. My hand did not shake. Avery Callahan Mercer had been my married name. The final page restored my legal name, Avery Callahan. Noah's name would remain Noah Callahan Mercer for now, because I refused to make another adult decision that turned his identity into a battlefield. When he was older, he could decide what name felt like home. Until then, both truths would sit beside each other. The mother who protected him and the father who had to earn his place back. Ethan watched me sign. When I set down the pen, he whispered, that's it. Mara closed the file. Legally, this phase is complete. This phase, not grief, not parenting, not repair, just the legal bleeding. Paul stood. He looked relieved and ashamed. In equal measure, we'll circulate executed copies. Mara nodded. Ethan did not move. Avery, he said. I looked at him. Can we talk alone? No. Pain crossed his face. You're never going to trust me again. No, at all, at all. He swallowed. I don't know how to live with that. I stood. You should have thought about that before teaching our son love could be revoked. His eyes filled. I hate myself for that. Good, I said quietly. Use it, not on me, not as a performance. Use it to become someone Noah can safely know someday. He looked down. Does he ask about me? I considered lying, then decided truth could be merciful without being soft. Yes. His face crumpled. What does he ask? If you're still mad at him. Ethan covered his mouth. Mara looked away. I did not. That is what your lie cost. I said, not money, not reputation. That. He nodded, crying silently. I picked up my copy of the agreement. When the therapist says he is ready, you can apologize. You will not explain. You will not blame me. You will not blame Vanessa. You will not say you were confused. You will tell him the truth in words a child can hold. What truth? That you were wrong, that he did nothing, that he was always your son, that adults are responsible for their own cruelty. He nodded again this time. Maybe. He heard me outside the courthouse. Rain had stopped. The pavement shone under a thin winter sun. My father waited near the steps. He wore his old overcoat and held 2 coffees. One is tea. He said, I assumed you've had enough courthouse coffee for a lifetime. I took it. Thank you. Signed. How do you feel? I looked at the courthouse doors behind me, like something heavy stopped asking to be carried. My father nodded. We stood side by side for a minute. Then he said, your mother would be proud. That one got through. I looked away, blinking hard. She would have hated Ethan. She would have smiled at him over dinner and destroyed him through seating arrangements. I laughed. It came out half sob, half relief. She would have loved Noah through this. I said, she is. My father replied, through you. 2 weeks later, Noah had his winter program at school. He played a comet, not a star, not a planet, a comet, because he told his teacher comets were fast and dramatic and need space. I sat in the front row with my father on one side and Mrs. Alvarez on the other. Mara had sent flowers but did not attend, which felt appropriate. Lawyers are essential in storms but should not have to sit through kindergarten music unless related by blood or guilt. The children lined up on stage wearing paper hats. Noah's comet tail was silver and kept hitting the moon in the face. Ms. Patel stepped to the microphone. Welcome, families. We are so happy to present our Winter Sky program. First, we have Noah Callahan Mercer as our comet. The name moved through the auditorium, no hesitation, no question mark, no zero. Noah stepped forward, lifted his cardboard comet, and shouted his line too loudly. I travel far, but I know where I belong. The audience laughed and applauded. I cried quietly, privately, without shame. Noah looked at me from the stage, saw my tears, and gave me a thumbs up as if to say, "Don't worry, Captain." I gave him one back. Ethan was not at the program. The therapist had advised waiting. To his credit, he listened. He sent a card through the therapist, unsealed so I could read it first. "Dear Noah, I am sorry I hurt you. You did nothing wrong. You were always my son. I was wrong. I am working on being safer and kinder. You do not have to answer this card, Dad." I read it 3 times before giving it to Noah. He read it slowly, then he asked, "Do I have to forgive him today?" "No," I said. "Tomorrow?" "No." "When? If you want to someday." "Forgiveness is not homework." He seemed relieved. He put the card in his desk drawer, not the trash, not his treasure box, a drawer. That was enough. Vanessa disappeared from our daily life, but not from consequences. Her statement blaming Ethan collapsed when Graham's texts, Lowell's cooperation, and her own messages contradicted her. Graham's wife pursued her civil claims. Lowell's medical license came under review. Vanessa's social circle, the one she had tried to enter through Diane's dining room, closed like a fist. As for the baby, I did not follow every development. Mara told me only what intersected with my case. Eventually, a formal test after birth confirmed what Vanessa had fought to hide. Ethan was not the father, Lowell was. Ethan sent no message when he found out. Good. Some humiliations do not require an audience. Diane tried once to see Noah. She sent a wrapped gift through Mark, an expensive model train, too fragile for a 5-year-old and too guilt-ridden for a grandmother. I returned it with a note. Noah is not available for gifts from adults who have not apologized to him. 2 days later, Diane sent a handwritten letter. It was not perfect. It contained too much explanation and not enough responsibility. She wrote that she had been misled, that she had feared for Ethan, that she had reacted poorly. I sent it back through Mara with 3 lines highlighted and a request: rewrite without passive voice. My father laughed for 5 minutes when I told him. The second letter was shorter. "Noah, I said things that hurt you. I was wrong. You did nothing wrong. I am sorry, Grandma Diane." I gave it to Noah. He asked, "Is she still mad?" "I don't know. Can I think about it?" "Yes." He put that letter in the drawer too. The drawer became his place for complicated things. I respected it. 3 months after the divorce, I moved into a house with blue shutters, a small garden, and a room Noah chose because it had excellent rocket potential. It was not as grand as the Mercer house. It was not as historic as Callahan house. It was ours. On the first night, we ate pizza on the floor because the table had not arrived. Noah placed his dinosaur in the center of the pizza box. Like a guardian, my father sat on an unpacked crate and complained that no civilized person eats dinner without plates. Then ate 3 slices. Mrs. Alvarez arranged paper towels like linen napkins. I looked around the room and felt something I had not felt in years. Not happiness exactly. Happiness is too bright a word for the first quiet after war. Peace, that was it. Peace with cardboard boxes. Peace with sauce on Noah's chin. Peace with no one asking me to shrink so a man could feel taller later. After Noah fell asleep under rocket sheets, I stood alone in the kitchen among half-unpacked dishes. My phone buzzed. Ethan. For a moment, I considered not opening it. Then I did. "Ethan, the therapist says I can have the first session with Noah next week if you agree. I know I don't deserve your help. I'm asking for his sake, not mine." I read it twice. There was no demand, no accusation, no Vanessa, no Diane, no self-pity disguised as fatherhood. That did not erase anything, but it was different. I replied through the co-parenting app, "As ordered, Avery. I will follow the therapist's recommendation. The session must remain child-centered." His response came 10 minutes later. "Ethan, thank you." I did not answer. Boundaries do not need decoration. I turned off the kitchen light and walked to the living room. On the mantel, I had placed 3 framed photos: my mother holding me as a baby, my father, and Noah making pancakes. Noah at his winter program, comet tail crooked, face bright. No wedding photo, no Mercer family portrait, no image that required me to pretend. The next morning, Noah ran into the kitchen wearing mismatched socks and declared that our new house needed a name. What kind of name? I asked. A strong one, like fortress. Too scary. Rocket house. Too obvious. Blue house. Too boring. He climbed onto a stool and thought deeply, then he said, Captain House. I smiled. Captain House it is. He nodded, satisfied. Because you're the captain. I poured his cereal. And you, I'm the comet, fast and dramatic, and I know where I belong. I looked at him then, really looked at the child Ethan had tried to turn into a legal uncertainty, at the boy who had asked what zero meant and now demanded a house name with authority, at my son, whose identity had been dragged through adult greed and returned not untouched, but still shining. Yes, I said, you do. That afternoon, I went to the bank and opened a new account in my name only. Then I met Mara to finalize the last reimbursement transfer. Then I drove past the old Mercer house without stopping. A for sale sign stood on the lawn for a second. I saw another life there, a younger version of myself carrying grocery bags up the walkway, Ethan opening the door with Noah on his shoulders, Diane arriving with flowers and criticism, Vanessa never existing, the DNA report never printed, the dinner never happening. But that life was not waiting for me. It was a house full of scenes already played. I drove on at a red light. My phone buzzed with a news alert about Mercer Vale Development losing a major investor after leadership concerns. I closed it without reading. Ethan's professional consequences were no longer the center of my recovery. He had lost money, he had lost face, he had lost Vanessa's illusion, he had lost his mother's blind certainty. Most importantly, he had lost the right to define me. The light turned green. I drove toward Captain House, toward my son, toward the quiet life I had once feared would mean failure, before I learned that peace is not what remains after love leaves, peace is what becomes possible after. Disrespect is gone that night. Noah asked for the dinosaur book, the one about the dragon who refused to share treasure. Halfway through, he interrupted me. Mommy, yes, was I always Daddy's son? I closed the book. Yes, even when he said no. Yes, was I always your son? I touched his cheek. Before I ever saw your face. He smiled sleepily. That's a long time. The longest. He curled under his blanket. Mommy, yes, can people be wrong about you? I thought of Ethan, Diane, Vanessa. Every person who had watched a woman stand beside a child and wondered if she would fold. Yes, I said, people can be very wrong about you. What do you do? I looked at my son, my comet, my proof that love could survive other people's lies without becoming soft enough to be destroyed by them. You remember who you are, I said, and you let the truth take its time. He nodded like that made sense. Maybe it did. He fell asleep within minutes. I stayed beside him a little longer, listening to the steady sound of his breathing. Then I walked through our new house, checked the locks, turned off the lights, and stood for a moment at the front window outside. The street was quiet. No Mercer voices, no staged dinners, no reports on tables, no one waiting to tell me what I was allowed to keep. I had my name, I had my son, I had my boundaries, I had the truth, and for the first time in years, that was more than enough.